Chapter 136. Madame Lin Muyu, what do you need this time? Jean Xiaotang asked with a smile as she brought Lin Muyu around the shop with her hands behind her back. She exuded the aura of a young girl. Perhaps many people thought that Jean Xiaotang was a young girl, but no one would doubt her intelligence and ability. It was precisely because of Lin Muyu's refining skills that Jean Xiaotang treated him with such importance and politeness. Otherwise, who do you think you are? Lin Muyu thought for a moment and said, I'm afraid I'll have to put it on credit again this time because I only have 2,000 Jin dollars on me. Sure. Jean Xiaotang covered her mouth and laughed. You're a diamond card customer of our Imperial Merchant Guild, and you're so familiar with me. As long as you say the word, you can put as much as you want. Alright, let's go. I want to buy some spirit stones and black iron. Alright. Arriving at the spirit stone shop, Lin Muyu scanned the new spirit stones. There were only 3 that caught Lin Muyu's attention. One was an 8,700-year-old thunder attribute spirit stone, one was a 6,400-year-old frost attribute spirit stone, and the last was a 5,000-year-old wind attribute spirit stone. He pointed at these 3 and said, how much do these 3 spirit stones add up? Oh. Jean Xiaotang blinked her eyes and said, thunder-type spirit stones are rare to begin with, so an 8,700-year-old one is even rarer. Therefore, this 8,700-year-old thunder-type spirit stone is priced at 21,000 Jin coins. The 6,400-year-old ice-type spirit stone is priced at 7,000 Jin coins, and the 5,000-year-old wind-type spirit stone is priced at 3,000 Jin coins. That's a total of 31,000 Jin coins. Xiaotang will give you a 30% discount and round it up to 20,000 Jin coins. Alright, take it off and give it to me. I'll put it on credit. Alright. Wei Chou, who was standing at the side, was dumbstruck. Not to mention tens of thousands of Jin coins, he had never even seen thousands of Jin coins before. Furthermore, he would never come to the Imperial Chamber of Commerce to buy things in the past. Although there were many good things here, they were also expensive. After that, he went to look around the iron ore shop. A huge pile of shiny iron ore attracted Lin Muyu's attention. He extended his spiritual pulse technique and could clearly feel the rich dark force in the iron ore. He could not help but take a second look. Jean Xiaotang covered her mouth and laughed. My lord, this is 10,000-year meteoric iron. It's an item that has been appraised by a professional. It contains an extremely rich amount of spiritual energy. Do you want it? I'll give you a discount 50 Jin coins per caddy. Wow. Wei Chou was speechless. It's as expensive as gold, Jean Xiaotang pouted. Of course. Weapons forged from 10,000-year dark iron are extremely tough, durable and sharp. We spent a lot of effort to obtain this kind of 10,000-year dark iron. Lin Muyu could not help but smile. How much 10,000-year dark iron do you have here? 820 caddies. Alright, I'll take it all. Ah, really? Jean Xiaotang's mouth was wide open. He was overjoyed. Of course it's true. That's good. Jean Xiaotang suddenly held on to Lin Muyu's hand and said coquettishly, then my lord Lin Muyu, do you have to give more of the weapons you forged to the Imperial City Chamber of Commerce to auction? Yes, of course. Although she knew that this was only Jean Xiaotang's business method, Lin Muyu was still amused by her coquettish appearance. Thus they bought a large pile of 10,000-year dark iron and borrowed another 40,000 Jin coins. They had already lost 60,000 Jin coins. However, Jean Xiaotang did not mind. The Imperial City Chamber of Commerce was a big business. If they could hold on to the thigh of a blacksmith and alchemy master like Lin Muyu, it would be worth it no matter how much money they spent. Moreover, Jean Xiaotang had always kept her promise and strictly kept her business dealings with Lin Muyu a secret. Otherwise, Lin Muyu would have long become the target of competition among the Imperial City Chamber of Commerce. Alright, my lord Lin Muyu. Jean Xiaotang blinked and said, actually, if you need money, the faster way is to forge Dream of the Extreme. After all, we can raise the price of Dream of the Extreme to a very high level. We also have a lot of raw materials here. How about it? Will you consider it? How many raw materials do you have? Lin Muyu asked. Enough to forge 40 bottles of Dream of the Extreme. That's good. Lin Muyu nodded. How much do these raw materials cost? 20,000 Jin coins. Yes, pack them for me and bring them along. Alright. Jean Xiaotang was overjoyed. She knew that once Lin Muyu successfully forged these weapons, The Imperial Capital Chamber of Commerce was destined to set off a frenzied wave of business in Lanyan City, bringing out countless black and spirit-grade weapons in one go, in addition to the legendary Peak of Reverie. Once this gimmick spread, wouldn't those competitors all kneel down and call her daddy? Jin Xiaotang felt uneasy when she thought about how the detestable boss of the Wulian Enterprise always looked at her with perverted eyes and wanted to poach her to be the vice manager of the Wulian Enterprise. This time, as long as Lin Muyu forged these items for her, the Imperial City Chamber of Commerce would be able to snatch at least 30% of the customers from the Wulian Enterprise. She wanted to see how that damn fatty would cry when that happened. Oh, that's not right. Her father was also a damn fatty. Jin Xiaotang's expression kept changing. Lin Muyu and Wei Chou felt goosebumps when they saw her expression. Who knew that this beautiful girl had so many thoughts in her heart? Miss Xiaotang, I have another presumptuous request, Lin Muyu said. Jin Xiaotang was already very obedient. Hee, Lady Lin Muyu, please tell me. Oh no, brother Yu, please tell me. Xiaotang will try her best to fulfill your request. Give me another 10,000 Jin coins on credit. I want cash. Lin Muyu said as she touched her forehead. She was a little embarrassed to ask. This time she had taken more than 90,000 Jin coins from the Imperial City Chamber of Commerce without giving anything to them. She looked like she could pack up and disappear at any time. However, Jin Xiaotang didn't even think about it. She smiled and said to the manager behind her, "Give 10 diamond coins to my brother Yu." Her shout had unknowingly shortened the distance between her and Lin Muyu. Although Lin Muyu knew that she would definitely be taken advantage of, it didn't matter. He liked doing business with this kind of person. When they left the Imperial City Chamber of Commerce with 10,000 Jin coins and a large amount of resources, Wei Chou's entire worldview was turned upside down. He said, "Lady, who are you? Why is Miss Jin Xiaotang of the Imperial City Chamber of Commerce so polite to you?" "You don't have to ask." Lin Muyu sighed and said, "I'm risking my life to earn money so that everyone in the Eagle Nest camp can have a better life. Look at our camp, it's no different from a pigsty." Wei Chou couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Then I thank you on behalf of my brothers." She gave all of the 10,000 Jin coins to Wei Chou and asked him to lead a group of Eagle Guards and Royal Guards to purchase daily necessities. She also contacted the Imperial City's Stoneworks department and spent a lot of money to buy a lot of stone and wood. She also hired a team of 50 people to go up to the Eagle Nest Mountain and began to build her new camp with great fanfare. The other Eagle Guards were so jealous that they wanted to die. Many Royal Guards had lived and slept in the wilderness on the Eagle Nest Mountain, but they had never received such treatment. Chu Huayin looked at the construction scene in the distance and said, "You're so ostentatious. Aren't you afraid that Xing Yifan will use this opportunity to pick a fight? Did you forget how Lord Rong Hanyuan was executed? Xing Yifan found a loophole. I'm very worried that Xing Yifan will pick a fight with you and ask you where you got the money from." Lin Muyu took out a list from her pocket and said, "This is Miss Jin Xiaotang's list from the Imperial City's Chamber of Commerce. Don't worry, brother, I've thought about this thoroughly." "Okay, that's good." Chu Huayin smiled and said, "It wasn't easy for you and Yao to come to Lanyan City. It wasn't easy for me to get to where I am today. We must be careful. I'm Yao's relative and so are you. We can't let anything happen to our family. Do you understand, you?" Lin Muyu's heart warmed. "Oh, I understand. Brother, don't worry, I'll be very careful." "Okay, that's good. Alright, is there a hidden place here? I want to find a place to refine medicine. The Eagle Nest camp is so run down, there's no place for me." Chu Huayin muttered. "There's a cave at the back of the Eagle Nest Mountain. A 1,200-year-old black bear used to live there, but when the Eagle Nest camp was opened, Commander Feng Jixing and his men killed the bear and cooked it into a bear paw hot pot. That's why the cave has always been empty. If you don't mind, you can refine medicine in the cave. I'll bring my brothers to protect you." Lin Muyu nodded happily and smiled. "Thank you, brother. Don't mention it." Chu Huayin patted his shoulder and smiled. "We're family." At this moment, a cavalryman suddenly rushed up the mountain. After dismounting, he cupped his fists towards Chu Huayin and said, "Lord Chu, a lady called Xianxia from the capital asked me to send you a message. She said to meet you on the 3rd floor of the Peace Restaurant tonight." Chu Huayin was stunned. He shook his head and said, "Please help me send a message back to her." Chu Huayin is on a mission and doesn't have time for the whole day. Let's postpone the appointment. Chu Huayin has let her down. Lin Muyu was stunned. She seemed to have guessed something and said, Brother Chu, it's okay. You can go first. I can do it alone. Chu Huayin shook his head and said in a firm tone, No, I have to protect you the whole day. This is Commander Qin Lei's order. Furthermore, I don't want to lose any more family members. You don't have to say anything else. Let's go to the cave at the back of the mountain. Okay then. Lin Muyu didn't go against his wishes. She ordered a group of imperial guards to bring the iron ore and medicinal herbs to the back of the mountain. She followed behind Chu Huayin and looked at his handsome back. She felt a sense of family. Chu Huayin was like a big brother, protecting her and Chu Yao from harm. Even though he wasn't strong enough to fight against strong enemies, he wouldn't back down. Chapter 137. When they arrived at the back of the mountain, the snow had melted quite a bit, revealing a forest of green pines. Some maple trees that hadn't completely withered had fiery red leaves, bringing a hint of autumn to this cold winter. A group of imperial guards entered the cave with their weapons and searched for a while before reporting, Sir, there's nothing in the cave. Very good. Lin Muyu ordered for the iron ores and other things to be pushed in. Then Chu Huayin personally guarded the outside, leaving only Lin Muyu in the cave. She fastened the torch to the stone wall at the side and found the most spacious place to place the iron ores and other things down. Then she looked to the side. Not bad, there was a small pool that could be used to cool weapons. Since forging consumed a lot of battle energy and physical strength, she refined the medicine first. He was already very familiar with refining Dream of Extreme Peaks. In less than an hour he had refined a total of 47 bottles of Dream of Extreme Peaks. He packed up 40 bottles for Jin Xiaotang to sell and kept the other 7 bottles for himself. Then he walked out of the cave and found Chu Huayin leaning against the rock wall with his eyes closed. He was humming a guqin with his eyes closed. This guy was indeed an elegant person. Compared to uncouth men like Qin Lei and Feng Jixing, he was more attractive to women. Are you done refining? Chu Huayin was stunned. It's still early. Lin Muyu smiled. I've just finished refining the medicine. As she said this, she took out 7 bottles of Dream of Extreme Peak and smiled. Brother Chu, do you know what this is? Could it be Dream of Extreme Peak? Chu Huayin was an intelligent person. He could tell from the look on Huaying's face that there were treasures in these small medicine bottles. Lin Muyu smiled and nodded. Yes, it's Dream of Extreme Peak. It's very beneficial to cultivators. Sleeping for 3 days might be equivalent to 3 years of cultivation. Here, these 7 bottles of medicine, you, Feng Jixing and Qin Lei will each get a bottle. Perhaps Her Highness Yin can also send a bottle. Also give Wei Chou a bottle. As for the rest, do as you see fit. Sister Chu Yao and Xiao Shi have already used it. This kind of medicine is only effective for the first time in a lifetime. If you drink it again, it will be useless. Use it with caution. Really? Chu Huayin was extremely excited and his face was full of excitement as he said, You don't know this, but Commander Feng Jixing and Commander Qin Lei's cultivation is already close to the peak of the first level of the heavenly realm. Perhaps these 2 bottles of Dream Return to Extreme Peak can help them break through to the second level of the heavenly realm. Especially when the Divine Might Battalion is becoming more and more arrogant, it's like sending charcoal in a snowstorm. Lin Muyu nodded and said, Yes, but there's one thing. You'll be unconscious for 3 days. You must choose a good time or else you might make a mistake. Don't worry, we know what to do. Alright, then I'll continue forging weapons. Alright, Big Brother will stay here until you come out. He began forging weapons and took out the spirit stone from his chest pocket. It was an 8,700-year-old thunder-type spirit stone, and this was also the best spirit stone Lin Muyu had. Whether or not he could break through to the saint rank weapon depended on the power of this spirit stone. He looked at the burning prairie sword again. In reality, the sword spirit of the burning prairie sword was a 9,000-year-old fire dragon, which was stronger than this spirit stone. However, at that time, it only used black iron and not the 10,000-year black iron in front of him. Moreover, Lin Muyu's battle aura cultivation and fire refining skills at that time were not as good as they were now. The fire used to forge the burning prairie sword was the earth fire from the 3rd layer of the treasure refining cauldron. Now that he had the hellfire from the 5th layer, the quality of the weapon he forged would naturally be completely different. The power of thunder was powerful and domineering, so he would forge an extremely domineering weapon, a spear. In a cavalry battle, a spear could be considered the king of all weapons. If it was good enough, it would not be a problem to sell it for a sky-high price. Taking out more than 100 gene of 10,000-year black iron, she placed it on the ground and summoned the treasure refining cauldron. Immediately, the 10,000-year black iron began to float. Lin Muyu slowly spat out her battle aura, and the flames inside the cauldron suddenly rose. The scarlet hellfire began to burn the 10,000-year black iron. Moreover, Lin Muyu could also feel the vigorous spirit energy inside the 10,000-year black iron, as if many of the spirit energy elements were jumping in joy, waiting to be reborn. After almost an hour, the large piece of 10,000-year black iron was refined. Sparks flew everywhere as the impurities inside the black iron were continuously refined. This process took about 10 minutes. The entire piece of 10,000-year black iron had already become a fiery red ribbon flowing in the treasure refining cauldron, waiting to be condensed into a weapon at any time. Grabbing the 8,700-year-old thunder-type spirit stone, he placed it into the treasure refining cauldron. The outer layer quickly melted and the hellfire burned fiercely. Not long after, the spirit stone had already cracked. It was actually a dragon-like creature, and its entire body was enshrouded in lightning. Lulu warned, "Big brother, it's a thunder-horned beast. Be careful, its power of thunder is very strong." As expected, the thunder-horned beast pounced over with its claws and fangs bared. It opened its huge mouth and streaks of purple lightning gathered. It looked like it was about to spit out a killing blow at Lin Muyu. However, this treasure refining cauldron was originally Lin Muyu's territory, so the thunder-horned beast naturally could not be arrogant. Leaping forward, Lin Muyu did not wait for the thunder-horned beast to attack and punched it. 3 luminaries, all life calamity. Peng! Defeating the enemy with a single strike, the thunder-horned beast's beast spirit was destroyed in the blink of an eye. The spirit stone could only store no more than 50% of the body's spiritual power, not to mention that it was still in the treasure refining cauldron. How could it withstand the attack of the 3rd luminaries? The thunder-horned beast's mournful wails slowly seeped into the pile of iron liquid. Lulu also quickly provided a series of spear molds. Lin Muyu chose one that looked extremely dazzling. Slowly gathering her strength, she reserved a space in the treasure refining cauldron. When the iron liquid and martial spirit were quickly poured into the space, the spear began to take shape. However, this was not the end. When the spear began to cool down, Lin Muyu still increased his battle chi and used the hellfire to temper the spear's edge. This was because this was the part that could withstand the strongest impact. When the spear pierced through the enemy's body, the spear's mission could be to break bones or break armor. Muyu. Under the spirit pulse technique, Lin Muyu's spiritual sense slowly spread out. When his spiritual sense was close to the spear's edge, he could even see the fine structure of the spear's edge as if he had turned on the microscope mode. Therefore, the precision of the forging process was also raised to the extreme. This was something that he did not expect. The spirit pulse technique could actually have such a magical effect in weapon forging. The entire process took a full 3 hours. Finally, the spear was forged. Puchi. The spear fell into the pool of water, stirring up waves of steam. Lin Muyu quickly picked up the spear and weighed it in his hand. The spear's shaft was not bad because it was hollow. Otherwise, it would not be called a spear but an iron spear. After thinking for a while, he used the hellfire to temper the spear's shaft and wrote the name of the spear, Purgatory Thunder Spear. What a good name, a lightning spear forged with the hellfire. After feeling proud for a while, he continued forging the next weapon. The second weapon was forged with the 6,400-year-old frost spirit stone. Lin Muyu thought for a while and decided to forge a battle saber. After all, he had not forged any saber-type weapon that he was proud of. Battle sabers were one of the most common weapons on the battlefield. They were large in size and were very suitable for charging and breaking through enemy lines. In fact, they were even more valuable than swords. He continued to temper the 10,000-year meteoric iron. This process did not change. Next, he began to refine the 6,400-year-old spirit stone. This time it was much simpler. When the beast soul broke out of the shell and tried to bite him, he easily subdued it with the one chaos of the common people and successfully refined it. He chose a very domineering and powerful battle saber mold, which also increased the weight of the entire saber to more than 50 kilograms. Moreover, the saber's entire body was ice blue because of the soul refining technique. When he swung it, there would be streams of icy air floating around it. Therefore he named it the Ice Soul Saber. At the same time he also carved the words, Ice Soul Saber on the body of the saber, although the handwriting was slightly ugly. At this moment he felt that the battle energy in his body had been depleted to about 30%. By the time he left the cave, the sky was completely dark. Zhou Xian had lit a bonfire outside and was warming himself with a group of Imperial Guard dragon guards. There was half a wild boar on the bonfire. It looked like a dried wild boar. Oil kept dripping onto the bonfire, making a sizzling sound. When he saw Lin Muyu walk out, Zhou Xian smiled and said, You're here. Come and eat something with us. We've warmed the wine, so it's good to drink some to warm up. Lin Muyu could not have asked for more. He took the opportunity to sit next to Zhou Xian. A dragon guard immediately cut a piece of fat meat for him and said with a smile, Sir Lin, eat more. Although the dragon guard's status was much higher than the eagle guards, all the dragon guards had to be respectful to Lin Muyu because of his strength. He chewed on the fragrant wild boar meat and drank a mouthful of wine. He immediately felt like he was in heaven. After continuously forging the Purgatory Lightning Spear and the Ice Soul Blade, Lin Muyu had already used up a lot of his energy. Now that he was eating meat and drinking wine, he naturally felt that he had nothing else. He couldn't help but let out a satisfied laugh. This feels so good, Zhou Xian laughed. Who exactly are you? You're actually able to master medicine refinement and weapon forging at the same time. From what I know, I don't think there's anyone like you. Lin Muyu didn't want to answer, nor did he know how to answer. Thus he said, There are some secrets. It's fine if Brother Chu doesn't know. Anyway, I'll always treat Brother Chu and Sister Chu Yao well. That's enough. That's true. More. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, his energy had recovered quite a bit. He continued to forge weapons. The next item he made was the 5,100-year-old poisonous spike demon spirit stone. Furthermore, Lin Muyu had the wildest idea of mixing this spirit stone with 10,000-year-old dark steel to forge a longbow. Of course he only forged the bow. Then he used a loathsome ox tendon that he bought from the Imperial Merchant Guild to make the bowstring. This was considered a great success. He asked for an arrow from the Royal Guard, then knocked an arrow. When he pulled the bowstring, the bow demon spirit Bao's Jejia hissed from the bow. Then a streak of poisonous spiritual energy surged into the arrow. With a whoosh, it shot into the distance and sank into the rocks. When he ran over to pull out the arrow, he saw that the damaged rocks had become charred black. This was a sign that the arrow had been poisoned. His bow was really good. It had automatically been coated with poison. He even gave it a domineering name, Demon Devouring Bow. In actuality, Lin Muyu already had a plan in mind. This bow was too much of a waste for her to use. He should give it to Wei Chou. His archery skills could be said to be unique in the Eagle Nest camp. It wouldn't be a waste for him to use this demon devouring bow. Furthermore, if she gave this demon devouring bow to Wei Chou, then Wei Chou was destined to follow Lin Muyu for the rest of his life. Chapter 138. After that he rested for a while and forged 4 more weapons. He named them Gale Blade, Fire Devouring Sword and Green Rock Spear. Of course, since he had 2 Stone Ape Spirit Stones, he also had 2 Green Rock Spears. When he wielded them, there was an unusually thick feeling that flowed into his palm. This was a characteristic of the rock-type soul-refining weapon. Phew! Lin Muyu took a deep breath and sat in the middle of a pile of weapons. He closed his eyes and rested for a while. About 2 hours later he woke up. The depleted Do Qi in his body had recovered by about half. Another thing that surprised him was that the strength of his soul seemed to have increased a lot. His spiritual sense had become much more sensitive. He picked up the 7 weapons on the ground and left the cave. It was already the next morning. Zhou Xian rubbed his eyes and smiled. Are you done? Yes, thank you, Brother Chu. Lin Muyu wrapped the pile of weapons in black cloth and placed them on a carriage. After all, this pile of weapons weighed about 700 to 800 kilograms. If a warhorse were to carry it, no matter how good it was, it would not be able to bear it. The most important thing now was to go to the capital's trading company to sell these weapons and sell them for money to repay Jin Xiaoteng. Zhou Xian still led a few dragon guards and followed closely behind. When the carriage arrived at the mountain road, Wei Chou and a group of eagle guards also followed. Wei Chou shouted from afar, "Madam, we will go with you. There is not enough stone on the mountain. We need to buy another batch." Lin Muyu nodded. After thinking for a while, he stopped the carriage by the side of the road. He took out a shiny longbow from the black cloth and handed it to Wei Chou. He smiled and said, "This bow is for you. See if it is useful." Wei Chou caught the demon-devouring bow, and immediately, a fiery hot spiritual energy flowed from the bow into his palm. There was also the faint roar of a spirit beast. He took out an arrow, nocked it, and aimed into the distance. Immediately, ripples of energy appeared on the bowstring, and the venom automatically coated the arrowhead. With a "so" sound, the arrow left the bowstring and shot down a flying bird. It didn't even have the time to cry out before it was shot dead. "My lord," Wei Chou had some doubt on his face as he said, This is a soul-refined bow, right? Is what's wrong?" Lin Muyu asked. Wei Chou revealed an awkward expression and said, "There are very few bow craftsmen among the blacksmiths to begin with, and the number of people who can refine souls can be counted on one hand. That's why longbows that have been refined with souls on the market are all sold for at least 1,000 Jinin coins. My lord, I cannot accept such an expensive gift." Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. "But this bow was personally forged by me. It didn't cost much, so you should keep it. A man shouldn't be so fussy." Wei Chou thought for a moment, then lowered his head to look at the demon-devouring bow. He really couldn't bear to part with it, so he nodded and said, "Thank you, my lord." "You're welcome. Let's set off quickly." Yes. The group continued down the mountain. Wei Chou carefully hung the demon-devouring bow on the back of his horse. Although he didn't know the grade of the bow, he knew how valuable it was. He felt even more respect and reliance on Lin Muyu, who was walking in front of him. Perhaps a superior like this was truly worth risking one's life for. Not long after, they arrived at the Imperial Merchant Guild. As before, Lin Muyu and Wei Chou carried weapons and potions into the inner hall. Jin Xiaotang was already waiting respectfully with a few stewards from the Imperial Merchant Guild. When she saw Lin Muyu's horse pulling the carriage, Jin Xiaotang revealed a cheerful smile and said, "Our esteemed guest has arrived. It seems that our goods have been settled. Are you done?" Jin Xiaotang came forward and said with a smile, "Big brother Yu, your forging speed is truly godly. I heard that those master blacksmiths have to repeatedly quench and refine their weapons. They won't be able to forge a decent weapon without at least half a month, but you're actually so different from the rest." Lin Muyu rubbed her nose and smiled, "I just have a few tricks up my sleeve." "Alright, the weapons have been delivered to you. Miss Xiaotang, quickly have someone appraise the grade of the weapons." "Alright." Lin Muyu raised her hand and placed the 6 heavy weapons on the table, causing the table to buzz. Jin Xiaotang smiled and said to the group of stewards behind her, "Call the appraisers over." Yes. A few minutes later, a total of 3 appraisers appeared in the inner hall. The first to be appraised were 2 green rock spears. They were almost identical green rock spears because they were made by Lin Muyu using the same mold. Regardless of weight, length, or pattern, they were all the same. The only difference was the 3 words "green rock spear" written on the spear's handle. An old appraiser with a grizzled beard slowly brushed his palm over the spear's handle and blade, feeling the sharpness of the spear's blade and the strength of the refined soul. Suddenly he opened his eyes and said, "Eldest Miss, a mysterious grade weapon, mysterious grade rank 6. Wow, mysterious grade." Jin Xiaotang's small mouth opened wide, her eyes filled with little stars. "There's actually a mysterious grade, that's great. Big brother Yu, you're simply super amazing." Lin Muyu touched her nose. "So I'm actually that amazing?" Continuing to confirm, the other green rock spear was also appraised as mysterious grade rank 6. The Zephyr blade and fire devouring sword were both appraised as mysterious grade rank 7. Although rank 7 was relatively low, it was still a mysterious grade. This was already considered rare. Although there were many mysterious grade weapons in Yanlan City, most of them were controlled by the nobles, and some of them were in the hands of the generals. The Imperial Merchant Guild was the economic and trade center of the entire Imperial Merchant Guild, but they only had 2 mysterious grade weapons. Following that, the old appraiser's palm lightly touched the ice soul blade. Immediately there was a faint roar of an ice spirit beast. At the same time, the icy air condensed into snowflakes that lingered around the old appraiser's palm. He immediately shivered and said, This blade is mysterious grade rank 5. Rank 5? Jin Xiaotang jumped up in excitement and clapped with a smile. The Imperial Merchant Guild finally has a weapon above mysterious grade rank 5. This is great. The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth curled up and she said with a smile, Don't be too excited yet. Look at that purgatory lightning spear. That's my proudest work this time. I believe it won't disappoint Miss Xiaotang. Jin Xiaotang opened her small mouth and stepped forward to grab the purgatory lightning spear. She placed it in front of the 3 old appraisers. Almost at the same time, the appraisers lightly pressed their palms on the purgatory lightning spear's handle. Instantly, countless shocked expressions appeared on their faces. At the same time, streaks of lightning slid along the spear's handle as if demonstrating their power. In the blink of an eye, the lightning condensed into the image of a fierce lightning tiger on the spear's handle, roaring at the old appraiser. Ah! The old appraiser's palms left the spear's handle and he took a few steps back. His face was filled with shock, and the image of the fierce lightning tiger on the spear's handle instantly disappeared. The old appraiser wiped the sweat off his face and said, It's actually a Saint Beast's soul lattice. Heavens, this is a Saint grade spear. Another appraiser nodded and said, Based on the strength of the Saint Beast's soul lattice, it should be a Saint grade 7th level. Jin Xiaotang stood there dumbfounded as if she was petrified. She muttered, How many years has it been since a Saint grade weapon appeared in Lanyan City's auction house? Big brother, you actually forged a Saint grade weapon. This is too unbelievable. Big brother, how did you do it? Lin Muyu knew what she wanted to ask. She smiled faintly and said, Xiaotang, our agreement is that you must keep our cooperation a secret, so don't ask me how I did it. Just cooperate with me. Jin Xiaotang was a smart girl. She nodded and said with a smile, Xiaotang understands. A total of 6 weapons are all here. Also, where are the 40 bottles of Dream of the Extreme Peaks that I promised Xiaotang? Oh, here they are. Lin Muyu hurriedly took out the 40 bottles and handed them over. Jin Xiaotang looked at the bottles of Dream of the Extreme Peaks and smiled so widely that she could hardly close her mouth. Big brother, I love you to death. You're practically the savior of the Imperial Chamber of Commerce. Is that so? Lin Muyu, on the other hand, was preoccupied with the matter of money. When will these things be sold? I'm in urgent need of money. Hee hee. Jin Xiaotang giggled. Don't worry, Xiaotang will promote them this afternoon. They will be sold at the auction house tomorrow afternoon. If Big Brother Yu is free, why don't you come and take a look? And sure. But I must keep my identity a secret. That won't be a problem. That's good. I'll be going back first. When he came out of the inner hall with Jin Xiaotang's receipt, Lin Muyu suddenly staggered and almost fell to the ground. His strength seemed to have reached its limit. Wei Chou hurriedly supported him and said, My lord, are you all right? I'm fine. Lin Muyu hurriedly used the spirit pulse technique to help himself concentrate. He shook his head and said, It's probably because I didn't sleep last night. Let's go back to Eagle Nest Camp. I need a good sleep. Don't let anyone disturb me during this time. Yes. By the way, how's the construction of the barracks going? We've already built a few simple houses. Even though they're simple, they're much better than the tents from before. If Milord doesn't mind, you can live in our own barracks. And that's fine. Try to arrange accommodation for Big Brother Chu and the rest of the Dragon Guards. We can't let them stay on Eagle Nest Mountain all day. Yes, I understand. By the time they returned to Eagle Nest Mountain, it was already afternoon. Lin Muyu hurriedly ate something and went to bed. His living quarters had indeed improved a lot. As the squad leader of the Royal Guards, he had his own room. The mattress inside was newly bought from the imperial capital. After removing his armor and lying down, he felt indescribably comfortable. The spirit pulse technique also slowly dissipated, allowing him to cultivate on his own. He closed his eyes and fell asleep in the blink of an eye. Chapter 139. When he woke up, it was already the next day. Lin Muyu's spiritual sense slowly awakened, and the spirit pulse technique automatically extended. Suddenly, Countless sounds rushed into his ears. The whistling of the cold wind, the swaying of the leaves, the snorting of the warhorses, and the voices of Chu Huaying, Wei Chou, and the other imperial guards. Some were laughing loudly, some were whispering. Nothing could escape the detection of Lin Muyu's spirit pulse technique. For a moment he felt like his head was about to explode. It was not easy to distinguish and select the parts he wanted from these sounds. Lin Muyu turned over and got up. He retracted his spiritual sense. Eavesdropping on others was really immoral. He was not willing to do it unless he had no other choice. When he walked out of the room, Wei Chou greeted him with a smile. "Sir, you're awake?" "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. Unknowingly, Wei Chou had almost become his bodyguard. He looked up at the height of the sun. It was almost noon and he started to feel hungry. "Sir, Miss Jean from the Capital Business Company sent someone to invite you early in the morning. She said that you must rush to the Capital Business Company afternoon to participate in the afternoon auction." Wei Chou said, "The person who came to invite you hasn't left yet. She said that she must go with you." "They got it." After washing up, Lin Muyu mounted the horse. He carried the Liaoyuan sword in the sword bag on his back and the pear blossom spear wrapped in black cloth in his hand. He was not sure when he would be attacked, so he had to be fully armed at all times. There were two figures in his mind. One was Xing Yifan and the other was Song Baihe. Both of them had the ability to kill him in seconds. Chu Huaying followed closely behind with a few imperial guards. They rode on the horse and ate something before following the people from the Capital Business Company to Lanyan City. In the afternoon the temperature warmed up a little. After entering Lanyan City, even their mood seemed to have warmed up. Chu Huaijin looked at the crowd around them and walked side by side with Lin Muyu. He smiled and asked, You forged so many weapons. You must have earned a lot this time, right?" Lin Muyu touched her nose. "It's all right. Money is just a worldly possession. I don't value it that much. How do you plan on spending this money?" Chu Huayin asked. Lin Muyu didn't know what to do with it. She pondered for a moment and said, "I haven't thought of what to do with it either. Does Brother Chu have any good suggestions?" Chu Huayin couldn't help but laugh. "I don't know either. Big Brother has never had much money, so he doesn't know how to spend it." All right then. Not long after, they arrived at the Capital Business Company. From afar they could see many luxurious carriages parked in the open space in front of the Capital Business Company. It was obvious that many high-ranking officials and nobles had come. Many of the carriages' curtains were embroidered with purple flowers in gold. That was an emblem that only officials of at least third rank and above were qualified to wear. This time, Lin Muyu brought the 10 royal guards into the back hall of the Imperial Chamber of Commerce. Jin Xiaotang personally received them and led them through a few corridors before entering a large room. There were a few mercenaries standing guard at the side. However, when these mercenaries saw Lin Muyu, Chu Huaying, and the others' armor and insignia, they were all surprised. It was obvious that this group of royal guards did not need anyone's protection. They had the strength to look down on the Imperial Chamber of Commerce. There was no doubt about this. Whoosh! Jin Xiaotang opened the 3 curtains at the back of the room. Outside was a square that was already crowded with people. She smiled and said, "Here, this is our Capital Business Company's VIP room. From this room you can overlook everything in the auction house. Brother, you can stay here. Xiaotang will accompany you to watch the entire auction." "Thank you, Miss Xiaotang." "You're welcome. We're on the same side, aren't we?" Jin Xiaotang covered her mouth and smiled. The cute expression of a young girl was intoxicating. However, Lin Muyu was from a business family, so she naturally knew that this was a means of communication. She didn't mind and nodded politely with a smile. Chu Huayin and the other dragon guards also approached the windowsill and looked down at everything in the auction house. Suddenly he frowned and said, "Isn't that young Master Ling Feng, the son of the State General Ling Mantian? He actually came to the auction house. This is really strange. I heard that young Master Ling Feng has been cultivating in his mansion for many years and never goes out." Jin Xiaotang giggled. "This is enough to prove the value of this batch of weapons." Chu Huayin nodded. "You is really not simple." Another dragon guard narrowed his eyes and said, "Lord Chu, look, another group of people has arrived." At the entrance of the auction house, a group of armored guardian knights surrounded a person and walked in. The person in the middle was handsome and had an arrogant look in his eyes. It was obvious that he was not from an ordinary family. It's Yuan Lian. Chu Huayin smiled faintly. Yuan Lian? Lin Muyu was stunned. Who is he? He's the son of the third-rank state general Yuan Xia. I heard that he just entered the heaven realm not long ago. That's indeed not simple. The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth curled up. He did not care how strong these people were. He only cared about how much these people liked the weapons he had forged. In his eyes, whether it was Ling Feng or Yuan Lian, they were actually here to give him money. But then again, there were indeed hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the capital. Other than Feng Jixing, Qin Lei and the others, there was also a heaven realm expert like Yuan Lian. Even Ling Feng's power pulse was at the heaven realm. He was not simple at all. The crowd was bustling and more people came. The auction in the afternoon was getting closer and closer. After the time it took for a joss stick to burn, Jin Xiaotang stood beside Lin Muyu. She gently waved her hand and drew a circle in the air. Immediately, the supervisor in the auction house nodded and went to give some instructions to his subordinates. Dang dang dang. The golden gong sounded and everyone in the auction house became solemn. Soon, a beautiful girl walked up to the stage with a scroll in her hand. She smiled and said in a clear voice, "Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, welcome to the Chamber of Commerce in the capital. I'm one of the managers of the Chamber of Commerce, Pan Xiaridium. If Miss Jin Xiaotang doesn't mind, I'll be the executor of this auction." Lin Muyu squinted her eyes and looked at the audience. Pan Xiaridium was dressed in a beautiful purple dress. As for her looks, she was not bad with a score of 8. She could not compare to Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, who were peerless beauties with a score of 10. However, if she was placed in Tongtian Street, she would be the overlord of all beauties. And her name was quite nice. On the stage, Pan Xiaridium was already skillfully introducing the auction items in the afternoon. After a long speech, she said, "First, let's welcome the first auction item." A burly man walked up to the stage with a pitch-black battle axe on his shoulder. Pan Xiaridium walked up and grabbed the handle of the axe with both hands. She groaned but still could not lift it up. The axe slid down the burly man's shoulder and fell to the ground, smashing a hole in the floor. Pan Xiaridium covered her red lips and revealed an awkward expression. She smiled and said, I'm too weak to lift this axe for the time being. Let me introduce it this way. This axe is called Mountain Splitting Axe. It's 1.2 meters long and weighs 78 kilograms. It's a third-stage spirit grade and it's very sharp. The starting price is 500 Jinin coins. Alright, everyone has started bidding. Lin Muyu looked at Jin Xiaotang with a puzzled expression. Jin Xiaotang burst into laughter. Jin Xiaotang giggled and said, "Brother Ayu, this auction will last for at least 2 hours. Of course, we need something to start the auction, so I found a few spirit weapons. You have to understand Xiaotang's way of doing business." "Oh, I understand." Lin Muyu laughed and continued watching. The first auction item was actually a spirit grade. It immediately attracted a wave of boos. Lin Muyu extended her spiritual pulse technique and could clearly hear the young master of the state general's residence, Ling Feng, chuckling. If she dares to use a mere spirit grade to fool people. Looks like Jin Xiaotang doesn't have anything good to offer. How disappointing. As expected, the spirit grade axe did not fetch a high price. In the end, it was sold for 2,400 Jinin coins. It was won by a burly general. Judging from the emblem on his shoulder, he was from the Divine Might Battalion. Lin Muyu immediately frowned and said, "Is the general of the Divine Might Battalion that rich? 2,400 Jinin coins is not a small number." Chu Huaijin's gaze was stern as he said, "The Divine Might Battalion is the private army of the Divine Marquis Zhen Yifan, so they don't need to carry out any missions. Many of them work as mercenaries and work for others to earn money. They have also done many things like robbing. What's funny is that Zhen Yifan didn't restrain his subordinates. Instead, he killed the deputy commander of the Imperial Army, General Song Hanyuan, for the crime of farming. How infuriating." Lin Muyu snorted coldly. A cold glint appeared in her eyes. Even now, she could still hear Qin Lei's unwilling roar. The dignified son of a prince, the commander of the Imperial Army, and one of the 6 great white-robed Imperial Guards had to endure such humiliation. Who would have thought that? Very quickly, a total of 9 spirit-grade weapons were auctioned off. The most expensive was the first-rank spirit-grade sword, the Green Rock Spear. There were 2 of them in total and both belonged to Lin Muyu. The final price was 8,700 Jinin coins. This also made Lin Muyu relax. If these spirit-grade weapons could be sold for such a high price, then her mysterious and saint-grade weapons would definitely not be too bad. She definitely wouldn't have any problems earning back her capital. At this moment, a general dressed in the Imperial Army's uniform who had the rank of a Chili Arch shouted loudly, "Hey Pan Zian, I'm here for the mysterious grade weapons that you're talking about. You're trying to fool us with these spirit-grade weapons. That's enough, hurry up and take out your shop's treasures. Don't force me to go up on stage and strip off your purple clothes to see just how big you are." Pan Zian's face was completely calm. She stood on stage and gave the general a ladylike bow. She said, "This general can't wait any longer. There's no need to rush. Next up will be the auction of the mysterious grade weapons. First, let's welcome the first mysterious grade weapon, the Zephyr Blade. 7th rank mysterious grade. Net weight of 82 kilograms. Exceptionally sharp, able to cut a hair by blowing on it." A burly man from the Chamber of Commerce carried the Zephyr Blade and walked up the stage. Sure enough, the blade was piercingly cold. On the blade, there were even streaks of fiery light appearing from time to time. That was the special form that only refined soul weapons possessed. Chapter 140. Wind Zephyr Blade, Mysterious Grade Rank 7 Starting Price, 4,000 Jinin dollars. Pan Zyuridium announced loudly. As soon as he finished speaking, someone below the stage shouted, 7,000 Jinin coins. Pan Zyuridium's eyes scanned the crowd and she smiled. The son of the Minister of Justice has bid 7,000 Jinin dollars. Is there a higher bid? 8,000 Jinin dollars. All right. General Liu of the Fire Sparrow Division has bid 8,000 Jinin dollars. Anyone else? 10,000 Jinin dollars. This is. Oh, please forgive me. Young Duke Xinfang of the Divine Marquis Constabulary has bid 10,000 Jinin dollars. Is there a higher bid? Even the young master of the Divine Marquis Constabulary was here. Who in Lanyan City did not know the son of the Empire's god of war Xinfang? Moreover, Xinfang was wearing a divine temple battle robe that was almost identical to Lin Muyu's and had a deacon badge. It was too eye-catching. Looks like the Divine Marquis Constabulary is also paying attention to this auction. Jin Xiaoteng covered her mouth and laughed. Lin Muyu glanced at her but did not blame her. After all, she was a businesswoman and was more concerned about profits than who she was doing business with. She did not care about the feud between Lin Muyu and the Divine Marquis Constabulary because it had nothing to do with her. After Xinfang bid 10,000 Jinin dollars, there was no response for a long time. Pan Zyuridium was about to close the bid when another voice rang out. 12,000 Jinin dollars. The bidder was Ling Feng. Pan Zyuridium could not help but smile. All right. Young Master Ling Feng of the State General's residence has bid 12,000 Jinin dollars. Young Duke Xinfang, do you want to increase the bid? Xinfang crossed his arms and looked at Ling Feng from afar with an arrogant look in his eyes. He said, since the young master likes this fierce wind saber so much, then I, Xinfang, will not take what others like. I will let you have this saber. Ling Feng cupped his fists and smiled. Thank you, young Duke Xinfang. Lin Muyu could not help but chuckle to herself. It seemed like the National General's residence and the Divine Marquis residence were at loggerheads. Although Lanyan City looked prosperous, there were many forces and undercurrents. Looks like the Divine Marquis residence is not very rich. Xinfang actually gave up so easily. A dragon guard laughed. Lin Muyu shook her head and said indifferently, no, Xinfang is just saving the money to wait for the weapon he wants. The dragon guards were stunned. In the end, the Zephyr Blade was priced at 12,000 Jinin coins, which was already out of Lin Muyu's expectations. The next weapon up for auction was the Fire-Devouring Sword. The final price was 13,500 Jinin coins. Sword-type weapons were indeed much more expensive than other weapons. At this point, Lin Muyu had already sold 4 of his weapons, earning him a total of 42,900 Jinin coins. He leisurely leaned against the windowsill and smiled as he looked down at the entire auction hall. The highlight was yet to come. Next, it's a divine weapon. Pan Zyurian smiled. Behind her, two brawny men walked over with a saber. Pan Xierian wiped the back of the saber with her palm, and a layer of frost appeared in the air. She stuck out her tongue and smiled. It's so cold. This saber is called the Ice Soul Saber, Profound Grade Rank 5. The starting bid is 10,000 Jin coins. The blade is so sharp that it's extremely rare. Heroes who are well versed in saber skills, don't miss it. Immediately Zhen Fong raised his arm and said, 15,000 Jin coins. Although the Ice Soul Saber was mysterious rank 5, which was only 2 grades higher than the fire-devouring sword, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. Therefore even the starting price was on a completely different level. 18,000 Jin coins. Yuan Lian called out slowly. Then Ling Feng raised his arm and said in a low voice, 22,000 Jin coins. 25,000 Jin coins. Instantly the scene went completely out of control. There was an uproar in the hall. No one expected the Ice Soul Saber to be so popular, and the descendants of the aristocratic families were determined to get it. Zhen Fong clenched his teeth and raised his arm again. 30,000 Jin coins. Everyone was silent. No matter how good the Ice Soul Saber was, it was too much for a mysterious rank 5 weapon to be sold at such a price. Yuan Lian's gaze was cold and he did not speak anymore. This price had exceeded his psychological barrier. After all, the National Protector General's residence did not have as much income as the Divine Marquis residence. Moreover, Xing Yifan had students all over the world. Every year, the generals who came to the imperial capital from all the provinces of the empire to present gifts to him could break the threshold. The wealth of the Divine Marquis residence was well known. Even Ling Feng of the National Protector General's residence cupped his fists and smiled. Since the young duke is determined to get it, then this Ice Soul Saber shall be yours. Zhen Fong nodded and did not reply. He ordered his servant to carry a bag of diamond coins to the backstage for the transaction. Unknowingly, the auction had been going on for more than an hour. At this time, the finale had finally arrived. 2 burly men from the Chamber of Commerce carried a spear wrapped in a black cloth onto the stage. Pan Xian walked forward and slowly held the spear's shaft. Vital energy flowed between her fingers. Suddenly, she shouted and her vital energy shattered the cloth, revealing the true appearance of the Purgatory Lightning Spear. Roar! Bolts of lightning slid along the spear's shaft, crackling as if demonstrating. In the blink of an eye, they condensed into the image of a ferocious lightning tiger on the spear's shaft. It roared angrily at the crowd below the stage, displaying the demeanor of a king. Heavenly! Saint Beast Soul! Zhen Fong was stunned. Ling Feng's mouth was also agape. Oh my god! The Imperial City Chamber of Commerce really got their hands on a saint-grade weapon. This, the trading house of Lanyan City, is going to change. Pan Xian's smile widened as he caressed the spear's shaft. The soul of the Purgatory Lightning Spear is a lightning spirit beast from the 8700s. It's a 7th level saint grade and can already condense a saint beast soul. This is the most powerful weapon our auction house has ever auctioned, so I don't need to elaborate on its value and significance. The starting bid is 30,000 Jin coins. If you like this spear technique, don't miss it. 50,000 Jin coins. Before Pan Xian's voice could fade, Zhen Fong had already raised his arm. It seemed like he was really determined to get this Purgatory Lightning Spear. 70,000 Jin coins. Ling Feng of the State Guarding General's residence smiled lazily and raised the bid by 20,000 Jin coins. It was as if 20,000 Jin coins were just a number to him and meant nothing. Zhen Fong was startled. He gritted his teeth and raised his arm again. 80,000 Jin coins. Ling Feng looked at Zhen Fong from afar and smiled. 100,000 Jin coins. The bidding between the two left the National Protector General's residence's young master, Yuan Lian, speechless. Zhen Fong gritted his teeth and looked at Ling Feng from afar. It seems like the National Protector General's residence made a fortune by excavating minerals in the Qinling Mountains. This rumor is true. Ling Feng said coldly. The National Protector General's residence is merely carrying out His Majesty's mission. Young Duke, don't slander us without evidence. Every Jin coin of the National Protector General's residence is earned in a proper way. Is that so? Zhen Fong sneered and raised his hand again. 120,000 Jin coins. 150000 Jin coins. Ling Feng continued to raise the bid. It seemed like he wouldn't stop until one of them died. Zhen Feng's face instantly turned pale. He wanted to raise the bid, but he didn't have enough Jin Yin coins with him. He had spent too much on the Ice Soul Saber. Otherwise he would be able to compete with Ling Feng. With a wave of his arm, Zhen Feng gave up. On the stage, Pan Ziyan smiled and said, "Congratulations to the young master of the National Protector General's residence for winning this Purgatory Lightning Spear. Please go backstage to complete the transaction, young master Ling Feng." "Many thanks." Ling Feng cupped his fists. She turned to Lin Muyu and said, "Congratulations, big brother Yu. I thought the Purgatory Lightning Spear could only be sold for 100,000 Jinin coins at most. I didn't expect it to be sold for 150,000 Jinin coins. How scary." Lin Muyu was overjoyed. Just the Purgatory Lightning Spear alone was enough for her to recoup her losses. Everything else was free. On top of that, she had used the raw materials to forge a demon-devouring bow for Wei Chou. It seemed that in this world her treasure cauldron and refining techniques were indeed secret arts that could earn money too easily. She had to make good use of them. Even if she couldn't become the strongest person in this world, she had to become the richest person. On the stage, Pan Ziyan was still carrying out the original auction process. She smiled sweetly and said, "Next is the auction of the medicine. Sorry for the long wait. This time we will auction a total of 40 bottles of Dream of the Extreme. I believe that all of you know the origin of Dream of the Extreme. This is a medicine that can stimulate a person's potential to the greatest extent. It is priceless and was originally extinct on the continent. However, this auction house obtained the refinement of this Dream of the Extreme through a secret channel. Alright, without further ado, the starting price of Dream of the Extreme is 5,000 Jin coins per bottle. Let's begin. 8,000 Jin coins per bottle, I want all of them." A rough voice came from outside the door. Everyone looked over together to discover a formidable young general leading a group of imperial guards and stepping into the auction house. Qin Lei. "Big brother Qin Lei is here?" Lin Muyu was stunned. Chu Huaying also looked down the stage and said, "Yes. Why is Commander Qin Lei here?" Jin Xiaotang was grinning from ear to ear. "Wow, even the commander of the royal guards is here. Hee, this time, our Imperial Chamber of Commerce is in the limelight." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "Since Commander Qin Lei wants it, can I go back on my word now?" Shouting, "Can you stop the auction and sell all of these Dream of the Extreme to Commander Qin Lei in private?" Jin Xiaotang blinked. "Yes, I'll do it." As she spoke, she walked to the window and crossed her arms in front of the stage. Pan Ziyan, who was on the stage, saw this and nodded. He smiled and said, "I'm sorry everyone, something cropped up at the last minute. The auction of Dream of the Extreme will stop now." "What?" Qin Lei didn't understand. He raised the thunder-splitting blade and said in a low voice, "You guys stop the auction when I come. What kind of logic is this?" Zhen Feng, Ling Feng, and the rest all expressed their dissatisfaction. Jin Xiaotang said from upstairs, "Commander Qin Lei, please come to the back hall. I have something to say." Not long after, the furious Qin Lei entered the back hall of the Chamber of Commerce. Just as he was about to flip out, he saw Lin Muyu, Chu Huaying, and Jin Xiaotang walking over together. "Chu Huaying, you guys." Qin Lei's eyes widened. Jin Xiaotang giggled. "Commander Qin Lei, can't you tell? The refiner of Dream of the Extreme is Lin Muyu." Ah. This time Qin Lei was even more shocked. "You actually has the ability to refine Dream of the Extreme?" Chapter 141. Commander Qin Lei is really muddle-headed this time. Chu Huaying laughed at the side. If he wasn't well-versed in the art of alchemy, how could he have cured Her Highness Yin's dragon snake poison in the dragon-seeking forest? Moreover, it's a dragon snake that's about to turn into a dragon. One can imagine how strong its poison is. Qin Lei slapped his forehead and said with a smile, "So that's how it is. I indeed didn't think of all this. Right, Ayu, since you're able to refine the peak of Reverie Dream, then big brother Qin Lei boldly wants to make a request of you, how about it?" "Go ahead, big brother." Lin Muyu smiled in response. "It's like this." Qin Lei walked forward and placed the thunder-split blade on the table. "You know the strength of the Imperial Guards. Although they're the strongest military force in Lanyuan City, You've also seen the strength of the sanctuary masters like Xin Yifan and the Pale Crane. The Imperial Guards aren't strong enough. As the commander of the Imperial Guards, I want to give each of them a bottle of Dream of the Extreme. This means that you have to give me a total of 206 bottles of Dream of the Extreme. How about it? Can you do it? The raw material for Dream of the Extreme is the Empire's forbidden medicine, the seven-colored lotus. Lin Muyu frowned and looked at Jin Xiaotang. I wonder how many seven-colored lotus the Empire's trading house has left. Jin Xiaotang pursed her red lips and said, the seven-colored lotus is a forbidden medicine, so there is a limit to the amount of seven-colored lotus in the trading firm. Previously I gave almost all of my stock to Brother Ayu. If I were to buy more, it would be hard for me to absolve myself from the blame if the Imperial Guards or the Divine Might Battalion found out. Xiaotang is just a merchant, I don't want to be interrogated by the Fire Sparrow Division. Qin Lei laughed. That's easy. As the commander of the Imperial Guards I can't do much else, but I can write a document for you and stamp it with the Imperial Guards military order. No matter how many seven-colored lotus you buy, no one will make things difficult for you. Really? It's great. Jin Xiaotang cheered excitedly. Qin Lei quickly wrote the document and stamped it with a golden seal. Then he said, oh right, can you give me 40 bottles of Dream of the Extreme first? 8,000 Jin Yin coins per bottle, no bargaining. Lin Muyu hurriedly said, no need. Since it's Big Brother Qin Lei who wants it, then there's no need for it to be so expensive. Besides, I don't know what to do with so much money right now. Qin Lei shook his head. What you've said is wrong. The money for dreaming of returning to Zenith Peak. Moreover, I've directly applied to His Majesty for the Ministry of Revenue to allocate this money. Every year the Ministry of Revenue collects so much tax money, and it should be used in this place. Qin Lei don't use it. I'm afraid that those high officials and nobles will also use this money to take in concubines and purchase treasures. Therefore you don't have to be polite. Since that's the case, I'll gladly accept. Yes, that's right. Qin Lei waved his hand and a few royal guards behind him carried heavy bags over. When they opened them they saw that they were all brand new diamond coins. 40 bottles of Dream of the Zenith. Each bottle was 8,000, and a total of 320,000 Jin Yin coins, which was also 320 diamond coins. They were very heavy and with a clang sound they landed on the table. This sound made Lin Muyu and Jin Xiaotang's hearts burst with joy. The manager of the back hall did some calculations and said, the items that Lady Lin Muyu consigned for sale were sold for a total of 542,900 Jin Yin coins. After deducting 10% of the processing fee, we can earn a total of 488,610 Jin Yin coins. According to Miss Xiaotang's suggestion, give us a round figure of 490,000 Jin Yin coins. After deducting the 90,000 Jin Yin coins that you owe me, we'll immediately go and count out 400 diamond coins to give to Lady Lin Muyu. 400,000. Lin Muyu was overjoyed when she heard this. When the heavy bag of 400 diamond coins was placed in front of her eyes, she felt as if she was about to ascend to heaven. At the side, Wei Chou cupped his fists and said with a smile, congratulations on making a fortune, lady. Lin Muyu chuckled and took out 10 diamond coins from the money bag and directly handed them to Wei Chou, saying, take these 10,000 Jin Yin coins as the expenses for rebuilding the camp. Yes, lady. Wei Chou received the money with a face full of joy. The living conditions of the Eagle Guards were already difficult to begin with. Moreover, many of the members of the Eagle Guards were born as commoners. Most of the salary that the Zetian Palace gave out every month was used to subsidize their families. They didn't have much money to begin with and lived frugally. Now that they had this 10,000 Jin Yin coins, the 110 people under Lin Muyu's command would definitely be able to live a good life. Meeting a tycoon superior like this, happiness spontaneously arose. While Lin Muyu was still enjoying the joy of spending money like dirt, Qin Lei patted his shoulder and said with a smile, brat, stop smiling foolishly. Lord Chu Chu has already returned to the Zetian Palace this morning. Do you want to go visit him? If necessary, I'll go with you. Grandpa Chu Chu has returned to the imperial capital? Lin Muyu asked happily. Yes. All right, we'll head over immediately. Thus, he instructed Wei Chou and the rest of the Eagle Guards to purchase the stones while Lin Muyu returned to the Zetian Palace with Qin Lei and Chu Huayin. In the blink of an eye, It seemed that they hadn't returned to the Zetian Palace for many days. As a result, they felt a little unfamiliar when they looked at the majestic imperial city from afar. The 390 diamond coins hung heavily on both sides of the warhorse. Lin Muyu felt extremely happy when he saw this money. He smiled foolishly all the way into the Zetian Palace. In the side palace, a group of attendants were respectfully prostrating themselves on both sides of the palace. They were unfolding a huge piece of white paper for Qin Jin. Meanwhile, Qin Jin was waving his brush and splashing ink on the white paper. He wrote the words landscape like a painting in an elegant manner. Qin Jin was known to be an expert in both calligraphy and painting. Although Lin Muyu didn't know much about calligraphy, he could tell that Qin Jin's handwriting was very powerful. Chu Chu stood at the side and said with a smile, "Your Majesty's handwriting is getting more and more sincere." Qin Jin smiled. "Lord Chu Chu also knows calligraphy. Then why are you saying all these?" "I'm just praising your Majesty." Qin Jin was speechless. At this moment, one of the attendants said, "Your Majesty, Commander Qin Lei has brought Lord Lin Muyu to look for Lord Chu Chu. They're just outside the door." Chu Chu stroked his white beard and said with a smile, "Does your Majesty want to follow this old man to see that brat Lin Muyu?" Qin Jin frowned and said, "There's no need. Lord Chu Chu can do as he pleases." Understood. It seemed like Qin Jin was still brooding over Lin Muyu's disobedience. Chu Chu had no choice but to leave. Outside the side palace, Lin Muyu caressed her money pouch. She was still immersed in the happiness of suddenly becoming a nouveau riche. Cough cough. Chu Chu coughed. Only then did Lin Muyu wake up from her beautiful dream. She turned around and said with a smile, "Grandpa Chu Chu, you're back?" Chu Chu nodded. "Stinking brat, you were actually able to come back alive after being exiled from the Tongtian Tower. You're really tough." "Ha. That's right, what's in your pouch? You're touching it so lustfully. Could it be that there's a beauty inside?" Chu Chu raised his eyebrows and asked with a smile. "Oh no." Lin Muyu opened a corner of the money pouch and said with a smile, "Grandpa Chu Chu, come and take a look for yourself." Chu Chu glanced at it and a look of shock flashed across his eyes. "You robbed the treasury of the Ministry of Revenue? How is that possible?" Lin Muyu said angrily, "Am I only this kind of person in your heart? I earned this money with my own hands and sweat." Chu Chu couldn't help but smile. "You're carrying this heavy pouch around, aren't you afraid that your money will be exposed?" "Fine, I found a treasure when I was training in the dragon-seeking forest. I'll give it to you." "Oh, what treasure?" Lin Muyu was extremely excited. Chu Chu took out a black pouch and said with a smile, "It's this." The pouch was not much bigger than a palm. Lin Muyu was instantly speechless. "This small pouch is used to store fruits, right?" Chu Chu said, "This is the legendary Cosmos pouch. There's a universe inside. It's invulnerable to weapons, water, and fire. It's a type of space pouch. It can store things that only belong to you in a different space." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu took the pouch, opened the mouth of the Cosmos pouch and put her hand inside. Sure enough, she could put her arm inside. It was very magical. Moreover, the inside of the Cosmos pouch was very cold. It was indeed a good thing to store things in a different space. Moreover, the Cosmos pouch was not very heavy and it was convenient to carry around. "That's great." He was ecstatic. He immediately grabbed handfuls of diamond coins and threw them into the pouch. Then he tried to take them out. There were no obstacles, but the storage space was limited. The total storage space was only about the size of a storage room. However, it was enough. After putting all 390 heavy diamond coins into the Cosmos pouch, he tied the pouch around his waist and happily cupped his fists. "Thank you, Grandpa Chu Chu. I like this Cosmos pouch." "It's good that you like it. Then take out some money." Chu Chu extended his hand. "What are you doing? I'm giving you a Cosmos pouch. Shouldn't you give Grandpa some money to buy some wine?" Chu Chu blew his beard and glared at her. "This Cosmos pouch is a rare treasure. Can be sold for at least a few 100,000 Jinin coins at an auction. Your Grandpa Chu Chu has always been incorruptible. His monthly salary is only so little. You should show your filial piety." Lin Muyu reluctantly grabbed a handful of diamond coins. There were 10 of them in total. She gave them all to Chu Chu and said, "Grandpa, you should be frugal. Chu quickly stuffed the diamond coins into his pocket. He smiled and nodded. Yes, I know. Qin Lei, Feng Jixing, Chu Huaying and the rest did not know whether to laugh or cry. Lin Muyu was relieved to see that Chu had returned. The Divine Might Battalion had become more and more aggressive recently. Coupled with Zhen Yifan's extraordinary strength, the balance of power had tilted towards the Divine Marquis Constabulary. However, things were different now that Chu had returned. The fire cauldron Chu was in the capital. Even Zhen Yifan had to be wary of him. The strength of both parties had reached a subtle equilibrium. Qin Lei walked forward and asked in a low voice, Sir Chu, how is the investigation of the House of Chivalry going? Chu shook his head. The House of Chivalry in Lingnan is lying dormant. There are no big movements for the time being. Only the House of Chivalry near the capital Lanyan City seems to be ready to make a move. My appearance and strength are too easy to be discovered. Therefore I did not gain much. The only thing I gained is, I have an ominous feeling. Of course it's ominous. Feng Jixing gripped his wind cutter tightly. Princess Xi was ambushed in the dragon-seeking forest. Princess Yin was also ambushed by the House of Chivalry in the dragon-seeking forest. There must be a conspiracy behind this. And this conspiracy is against the entire Qin Empire. Chu took a deep breath. Yes, but we have no clues now. Chapter 142. At this moment the door to the side chamber opened again. An official walked out and said respectfully, Sirs, His Majesty has summoned Chu, Feng Jixing, Qin Lei, Chu Huaying and Lin Muyu for a meeting. Chu smiled. Everyone was solemn. They did not know why the emperor had summoned them to the side chamber. Lin Muyu was a little surprised. She had thought that Qin Jin would not want to see her again, but it seemed that he did not think so. She followed Chu, Feng Jixing and the others into the side chamber. A few officials hurriedly put away Qin Jin's calligraphy. Qin Jin sat firmly on the throne with his head lowered. His eyes were dim and he did not speak. The crowd stood on both sides. Chu and Qin Lei stood at the front, followed by Feng Jixing. Lin Muyu and Chu Huaying stood at the back in an orderly manner. Chu walked forward and cupped his fists. Your Majesty, what instructions do you have for summoning us? Qin Jin slowly raised his head and said, The Hall of Chivalry. Chu was stunned. Qin Jin continued, The Fire Sparrow Bureau and the Ministry of Justice have been investigating the Hall of Chivalry, but there have been no results. Even Sir Chu is personally investigating. However, the truth behind the Hall of Chivalry seems to be very well hidden. If there are no results, then we shall ban the Hall of Chivalry. Feng Jixing hurriedly cupped his fists. Your Majesty, you must not do that. The Hall of Chivalry is a resting place for cultivators. If we really ban all the halls of chivalry, I'm afraid the number of cultivators in the empire will be greatly reduced. What's wrong with that? Qin Jin raised his brows. Why can't the empire give up on martial arts and learn how to govern the country? Feng Jixing said, The nomads of the desert in the north have repeatedly invaded the south, and the southern barbarians in the south have always been restless. If the empire really gives up on the House of Chivalry, I'm afraid there won't be many martial arts practitioners joining the army. This is very disadvantageous to the empire. Qin Jin abruptly slammed his palm on the table, sending the memorials flying. With a furious expression he said, How dare the House of Chivalry send someone to assassinate Xiao Yin and Xiao Shi? Are we just going to let this matter rest? Feng Jixing was stunned. He had served the emperor for many years, but he had never seen him so angry. Chu hurriedly cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, we are incompetent. We are unable to find out the truth behind the House of Chivalry. It is because the cultivators in the House of Chivalry are mobile, and the wardens of each House of Chivalry are elected by the people. It is too difficult to find out the truth. We still have to get to the bottom of this. Qin Jin's face was ashen. Otherwise, I don't know when I will be assassinated by the House of Chivalry. Do you want to see that day come? We are unwilling. Chu, Feng Jixing and the others cupped their fists. Let's think of an idea. Qin Jin heaved a sigh of relief. He seemed a little tired as he slowly lay down on the throne. At this moment Chu Huaying cupped his fists and said, Your Majesty, I believe that we should send a capable person to infiltrate the House of Chivalry within the imperial capital. Only by investigating the House of Chivalry from the inside can we uncover the person behind these incidents. I am untalented, but I am willing to infiltrate the House of Chivalry. Qin Jin's lips curled up. General Chu Huayin is recommending himself? But I have heard some rumors that General Chu and Divine Marquis Xing Yifan's daughter are in love. If that is the case, General Chu is not suitable to carry out this task. Chu Huayin trembled when he heard this. He hurriedly knelt on one knee and said, Your Majesty, although Chu Huayin is in love with Xianxia, he has no other feelings for you. Heaven and earth can bear witness to this. I know. Qin Jin raised his hand and said, You may rise. I know your feelings, which is why I called you in. However, General Chu Huayin is still not suitable for this task. You are one of the leaders of the Dragon Guards of the Imperial Guards. You are responsible for protecting me and Her Highness. You should not leave your post without permission. Leave this matter to the experts of the Fire Sparrow Bureau or the Ministry of Justice. Chu Huayin's expression was unusually ugly. Lin Muyu could see it. He also knew the implications of this matter. Once he lost the Emperor's trust, Chu Huayin would soon be kicked out of the Imperial Guards. Your Majesty. Lin Muyu stepped forward and cupped his fists respectfully. I am one of the leaders of the Eagle Guards. Moreover, the Eagle Guards are responsible for spying on the military. Chu Huayin is my sworn brother. I am willing to carry out this task on his behalf. Qin Jin looked at her from afar. He suddenly smiled and said, There are many hidden talents in the House of Chivalry. Once your identity is exposed, you will definitely be killed. Lin Muyu, are you really willing to carry out this task? Yes. That's good. I will leave this matter to you. Qin Lei, you will be in charge. Qin Lei cupped his fists. Yes, Your Majesty. I am tired. You can all leave. Yes. Everyone obediently left. After exiting the side hall, Chu Chu immediately frowned and said, You are really a newborn calf who is not afraid of tigers. You don't know what kind of place the House of Chivalry is. If you go there rashly, you might really lose your life. Lin Mu smiled. It doesn't matter. I will act according to the circumstances. Yes. Chu Chu continued. Once you enter the House of Chivalry, you must change your surname to E. Moreover, your green gourd martial soul is too conspicuous. Try not to reveal it. After all, you are the only one who was able to come out of the Tower of Tong Tian alive. Everyone in the capital knows that there is a Lin Muyu in the Imperial Guards who is proficient in the Imperial Sword technique and possesses the 10th grade Green Gourd martial soul. You cannot use the Green Gourd or the Imperial Sword technique. Do you understand? Understood. Chu Chu stopped in his tracks and said, By the way, have you figured out how to enter the House of Chivalry? You have to know that the House of Chivalry is not an ordinary place. They are like a mercenary group entrenched among the people. With your strength, you will be easily discovered if you enter the House of Chivalry. At least you should have a referral. Referral? Lin Muyu was stunned. Among us, who is familiar with the House of Chivalry? Feng Jixing could not help but laugh. We are all Imperial Guards. We are people who are loyal to the Qin family. The House of Chivalry is an organization among the people. Do you think we are familiar with each other? Chu Huayin frowned and said, I know someone who might be able to help you sneak into the House of Chivalry. Oh, who is it? Someone you are very familiar with. Who? Jin Xiaotang. Chu Huayin smiled slightly. Jin Xiaotang is one of the people in charge of the capital's Chamber of Commerce. A woman who is able to shoulder such a large business empire must be someone who works in both the underworld and in the underworld. I heard that many of Jin Xiaotang's goods are bought from the House of Chivalry and wandering mercenaries. All right, I understand. Lin Muyu cupped her fists and left her horse and armor behind. She then changed into plain clothes and bid farewell to Chu Chu, Feng Jixing and the others. She then went to the Chamber of Commerce alone. This trip concerned the safety of Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Chu Huaying and the others. She had to complete this mission. Moreover, Lin Muyu could vaguely feel that there was a huge conspiracy behind the House of Chivalry. It might even affect the survival of the entire empire. Within the Chamber of Commerce, Jin Xiaotang was calculating the day's income and expenditure. She closed the account book and smiled at Third Fatty Jin. Dad, the Chamber of Commerce's total income has exceeded $1 million Jin today. This is great. Let's see how the other chambers of commerce can compete with us for the title of the #1 chamber of commerce in the capital. Third Fatty Jean took a puff of his cigarette and looked up at his daughter. Speaking of which, it's all thanks to Lin Muyu. Who knows how many secrets this brat is hiding? That's right. Jean Xiaotang blinked and smiled. Anyway, Big Brother Yu's forging and alchemy can be sold in our chamber of commerce. There's no need for us to ask him what he doesn't want to tell us. At this moment, a manager quickly walked in. Miss Xiaotang, Lin Muyu wishes to see you. He's here to see you? Third Fatty Jean was stunned. Is there another business? Jean Xiaotang squinted her eyes. No, there must be something else. I'll go over. Dad, continue drinking your tea. All right. In the side hall at the back, Lin Muyu was already there when Jean Xiaotang arrived. She immediately smiled. Big Brother Yu, what business do you have with me this time? Lin Muyu looked around. I want to speak to you in private. Jean Xiaotang was extremely smart. She immediately dismissed her servants and smiled. Can you speak now? Lin Muyu pondered for a moment. Xiaotang, do you know anyone from the House of Chivalry? Well, Jean Xiaotang hesitated. Why does Big Brother Yu want to ask? I just want to ask. I need someone to introduce me to the House of Chivalry so that I can carry out a very important mission. It seemed like there was no need to hide anything from Jean Xiaotang. Jean Xiaotang giggled. Thank you, Big Brother Yu, for trusting me so much. Since that's the case, I'll help you. Our Imperial Chamber of Commerce has always done business with the House of Chivalry's Shaolin branch near the dragon-seeking forest, so Xiaotang has some influence there. How should I write a letter of introduction for you? How should I introduce you? Lin Muyu from the Holy Sanctum or Lin Muyu from the Royal Guards? I don't want either. I want a new identity. Oh. Jean Xiaotang squinted her eyes and smiled. Then I'll make up a new identity for you. How about a wandering mercenary? Sure. What should I call it? Let's call it Lin Yan. Lin Muyu said after some thought. This name belonged to her big brother. It was not a bad idea to use it here to show her memory of her big brother. Jean Xiaotang immediately took out a pen and paper to write the letter of introduction. After a few minutes, she dried the ink and smiled. It's done. The Shaolin branch is the largest house of chivalry in Lanyan City. It's said that there are more than 500 rangers living in the house all year round. Big Brother Yu, you must be careful when you go there. It's a place full of crouching tigers and hidden dragons. Yes, I know. Chapter 143. Paw. A gray messenger bird flapped its wings and flew out of the window, while Third Fatty Jean slowly pressed the paper under the scroll on the table. At this moment, someone knocked on the door. Come in. Jean Xiaotang pushed the door open and entered with a joyful expression. Father, I heard a messenger bird in the room just now. Did someone send a letter? Aha. Third Fatty Jean fanned the temperature of the tea in his hand and smiled. No, it's just a greeting letter from a friend. Xiang, why is Lin Muyu looking for you? Jean Xiaotang's gaze swept across the document, and she saw the emblem of 2 swords at the end of the paper. It was the emblem unique to the House of Chivalry, and the emblem was painted blood red. This meant that this letter was sent to her father by at least a game envoy of the House of Chivalry. Moreover, the cup of tea in Third Fatty Jin's hand had already been warmed, and there was no need to fan it down. Nothing much. He just wants to know when I can get the Rainbow Lotus in stock. Big Brother Yu is really short on money right now. Jean Xiaotang smiled. Third Fatty Jean squinted his eyes and said, Lin Muyu is a member of the Royal Guard, but he seems to have been sent to the Eagle Nest Camp. The Eagle Nest Camp is so poor, so it's normal for him to be short on money. Oh right, have the ores from the Cloud Province arrived yet? Not yet. Is it very urgent, father? Oh, it's not that urgent. Xiaotang, hire a group of first-rate blacksmiths from Lanyan City. I want to forge a batch of weapons. Jean Xiaotang was stunned. Then let Big Brother Yu do it. No, Lin Muyu is a top-notch blacksmith. We shouldn't trouble him with this kind of thing. After all, it's not easy for our Imperial Capital Chamber of Commerce to hold on to such a big tree. We shouldn't trouble him so easily. That's right. Father, you're so thoughtful. I'll get it done now. Jean Xiaotang pushed open the door and a trace of worry flashed across her face. Do. Lin Muyu ascended Eagle Nest Mountain amidst the clattering of horse hooves. She found Wei Chou and made arrangements for the team's daily work. She told them that they had to be orderly and not let anyone know that they were not in Eagle Nest Camp. Then she went down the mountain from the back. At this moment Lin Muyu had already changed into a dark green warrior's outfit. She wore a tattered mercenary badge on her chest. Her burning prairie sword was wrapped in black cloth and carried on her back. Even the horse she was riding on was just bought from the market. The war horses of the royal army and the holy cathedral were carefully selected. Furthermore, there were emblems on their buttocks and hooves. It was too easy to be discovered, so she had to find another mode of transportation. Hua. She opened the scroll and looked at the direction of the House of Chivalry's Shaolin branch on the map. She urged her horse and galloped there. The sky was getting dark, so she had to reach the Shaolin branch before dark. Along the edge of the dragon-seeking forest, there were only a few villages and houses along the way. Basically, there were no cultivators. When she was about 10 miles away from the Shaolin branch, she saw some rangers. These people carried long swords and wore emblems of the House of Chivalry on their chests. There were green, white, iron, and bronze. Lin Muyu could not understand the classification of the House of Chivalry at the moment, so she did not think too much about it and went straight ahead. Before sunset, she arrived at the foot of a nameless mountain. She saw a road winding all the way to the top of the mountain. On the road at the foot of the mountain, there was a towering tree that had been cut in half. The bark was peeled off and 8 blood-red words were carved on it with a knife. House of Chivalry's Shaolin branch. She had arrived. Pulling the reins, Lin Muyu walked over slowly. There were 8 rangers standing guard at the mountain gate. Each of them had a hostile look on their faces. Although the rangers in the House of Chivalry claimed to be chivalrous, Lin Muyu knew a thing or two from the rumors. In fact, the biggest difference between this group of people and mercenaries was that their organization was very large. As for the rest, it seemed that they were just SOSO. They even dared to attack the princess of the empire and the countess of Qihai City. In fact, this group of people was even more daring than mercenaries. Who is it? A ranger pointed his long sword at Lin Muyu and said, "What are you doing at the top of the mountain?" Lin Muyu cupped her fists and said in the words that Jin Xiaotang taught her, "Righteousness comes first when traveling in Jianghu. When the weather is cold, find a place to sleep. I am Lin Yan, a mercenary from Lanyan City. I have specially come to visit the House of Chivalry." "You want to join the House of Chivalry?" the ranger asked. "Yes." "Ha ha ha." The ranger's face was full of hostility. With a shake of his sword, he had already unsheathed it. He said in a low voice, "If you want to join the House of Chivalry, the first condition is to defeat anyone in the House of Chivalry. What do you think of me?" In fact, this ranger was at most at the first heaven of the human realm. He was not even at level 10. He was only guarding the mountain gate with his bravery. How could Lin Muyu take this kind of person seriously? She opened her palm and a vigorous force gushed out. She lightly waved her palm in the air. Bang! The ranger was blasted back again and again. The blood in his body was tumbling, but he did not even see how his opponent attacked. Although he wanted to use his genuine chi to fight again, he seemed to have no strength left. With a red face he said, You win. Let's go up the mountain." Lin Muyu raised her hand and saluted. She smiled and grabbed the reins, urging the horse to go up the mountain. The other 7 rangers did not even look at him. It seemed that the matter of someone going up the mountain had nothing to do with them. The warhorse snorted as it walked up the mountain step by step. Lin Muyu couldn't help but look around. Along the way there were many houses with white walls and black tiles. They were all prepared for the rangers. With so many houses, one could imagine how many rangers there were in this place. Faint roars of battle could be heard coming from the dense forest. It was obvious that there were people training or cultivating. Who knew? Along the road there was a group of buildings near the top of the mountain. They had arrived at the headquarters of the Shaolin branch. Outside the headquarters, many rangers were cultivating. Some were chopping wooden dummies and some were practicing riding and archery. However, when Lin Muyu slowly walked over, these people almost stopped cultivating. They all looked at Lin Muyu as if they were looking at a monkey in the zoo. "Look at that kid. He actually stepped into the House of Chivalry wearing a mercenary medal. He is courting death. Damn idiot. Don't you know that the House of Chivalry has a grudge against mercenaries? Get off the horse and die. Brat, if you dare to look at me like that again, believe it or not, I will chop off your descendants. Lin Muyu frowned. The rudeness of the rangers seemed to be better than that of the wandering mercenaries. Even people like Hawkeye were not so vulgar. This group of people all wore the badges of the House of Chivalry on their chests. Some were bronze, some were silver, some were gold, and some were white. Presumably, the ranking system was similar to that of the Holy Temple. However, Lin Muyu extended his spiritual pulse technique and scanned the people wearing the gold badges. He found that their strength was only at the level of 40 to 50 war venerable. They were far inferior to the royal guards and the Holy Temple's gold star level. It was no wonder that the House of Chivalry could not compete with the imperial capital. Thinking of this, he could not help but laugh. If they wanted to kill Qin Yin with just these people, it was simply a fool's dream. However, Lin Muyu's laughter was like the most powerful mockery in the world. The group of rangers immediately became irritable. One of the warriors wearing the gold badge walked forward with his axe. His face was full of anger. He shouted, "Brat, what are you laughing at? Do you know how ugly your smile is? You are not allowed to laugh or I will chop your head off." This person looked fierce, but his face was particularly ugly. There were scars all over it. It was said that ugly people would think that beautiful people were especially ugly. This was a kind of aesthetic distortion. This person said that to Lin Muyu, but Lin Muyu was not angry at all. "I'm here to pay my respects." Lin Muyu reached into his arms and took out Jin Xiaotong's letter of introduction. He dismounted and held the letter of introduction with both hands. He said very respectfully, "Sir, this is my letter of introduction. Please help me to pass on my message." Lin Muyu was born into an illustrious family. He was the young master of the Long Xian group. He had received an excellent education since he was young. His greatest strength was probably that he did not care about the poor or the poor. He was humble and respectful to everyone. The man with the battle axe grinned. Seeing that the kid was so respectful, he was embarrassed to explode. He grabbed the letter of introduction with one hand and said, "Don't call me sir. I am not one of those high-ranking officials in Longyan City. My name is Long Yen. You can call me Lord Long Yen." Lin Muyu was speechless. Long Yen turned around and left with the letter of introduction. It didn't take long for him to return. He said, "You are Lin Yen, right? Come follow me. The great travel envoy wants to see you." "Okay." Lin Muyu tied his horse to a wooden stake and walked up the steps, following Long Yen into the headquarters. There were quite a few guards on both sides of the main altar's entrance, and all of them were clad in excellent armor. Their weapons looked decent as well, and they were all looking straight ahead. When Lin Muyu entered the passageway, he actually sensed a hint of killing intent. Truth be told, the rangers outside were nothing to be afraid of, but the guards inside the main altar had to be on their guard. These people seemed to be professional soldiers, and when they formed a killing formation together, the explosive power they could unleash would be terrifying. He had already experienced this when he was being chased around Kathaya City. The cavalry killing formation was fast and effective. A group of level 10 martial artists could easily kill a level 30 martial artist. It was like playing a game, and the power of a single soldier could not be compared to that of a group. The stone tiles on the ground reflected the color of blood. When Lin Muyu entered the headquarters, he found that the tiles under his feet had turned into glazed tiles. The lamps on the surrounding walls had also been replaced with glazed lamps. The ceiling was painted with the Empire's characteristic battle map. The feeling of this headquarters was somewhat similar to that of Zetian Palace. The level of luxury was no less than that of Zetian Palace. "You're Lin Yen? Look up." A cold voice came from the front. Chapter 144. A crimson gold-plated carpet was laid all the way to the steps and then to the seats. There were 3 seats in the main altar hall. The throne in the center was inlaid with gold, while the other 2 seats were inlaid with silver. Needless to say, the middle-aged martial artist in his 40s sitting in the middle was the legendary Grand Chess user, who was also the supreme leader of the House of Chivalry in the North Ridge province. The leader had a square face, and the contours of his face looked like they were carved by a knife. He looked determined and experienced. He must have experienced a lot to be able to sit in the position of the leader. "I am Lin Yen. Greetings, Grand Chess user." Lin Muyu stood still and gave a fist salute. The grand chess user laughed. Well said, well said. Brother Lin Yan, since you plan to join the House of Chivalry, why don't you take off the mercenary badge on your chest? I can only take off the mercenary badge the moment I get the knight-errant badge. Ha, interesting. The grand chess user smiled. Li Qianxuan Luo Yu, what do you two think of this kid? Li Qianxuan was a man in his 40s. There was neither joy nor anger on his face, which made him an unfathomable person. He held onto a broadsword and said calmly, if he stays he'll start working as a solo swordsman. How far he can climb will depend on his own capabilities. Our House of Chivalry has never been particular about relationships. We treat everyone equally even if they're introduced by Jin Xiaotang. The grand chess user laughed. Very good. What do you think, Luo Yu? Luo Yu was a young man about the same age as Feng Jixing and Qin Lei. She smiled and said, I think the same as Li Qianxuan. Let him start from the bottom. Alright. The grand chess user waved his hand and said, Long Yan, bring Lin Yan down and give him a rogue badge. Arrange a place for him to stay. I don't care if you are a dragon or a worm. If you want to make a name for yourself in the House of Chivalry, you must show your true abilities. Lin Muyu smiled and gave a fist salute. Yes. She followed Long Yan out of the door, turned left and entered a courtyard. She saw an old man with trembling fingers carving a name tag. This made Lin Muyu a little worried. This old man seemed to be suffering from severe Parkinson's disease. The frequency at which his hands were shaking was a little scary. Would it be okay for him to carve a name tag? Long Yan walked up and said with a smile, Old man, carve a badge for the rookie. The rogue badge's name is Lin Yan. Hurry, I give you 1 minute. The elder nodded and took a green metal block from the side. He quickly carved the words Lin Yan on it. In front of it was the emblem of the House of Chivalry's twin swords. Good. The old man said with a smile. Long Yan snatched the nameplate and handed it to Lin Muyu. He smiled and said, Ling Yan, from this moment onwards, you have entered the Hall of Chivalry's roster. However, you are now a lone hero of the lowest rank. Here, this is your badge. Lin Muyu took the badge and put it in front of her chest. She asked, Master Long Yan, what is the meaning of a rogue? Long Yan glared at her. You don't even know the ranking system of the House of Chivalry. How dare you come here? Lin Muyu was silent. Long Yan laughed and continued, Listen, the House of Chivalry is divided into 9 levels, from the lowest to the highest. The first level is the rogue you are now, followed by the Venerable, the Iron Venerable, the Bronze Venerable, the Silver Venerable, the Jin Zun, the Chess Envoy and the Grand Chess Envoy. He paused and continued, Every province has a headquarters and a Grand Chess Envoy. The Grand Chess Envoy of our Shaolin branch is called Ji Yang. He's a great person. You will know him in the future. As for the Grand Chess Envoy, there is a Chief Chess Envoy. But ordinary people can't get close to him. I have worked in the House of Chivalry for 7 years and reached the position of Jin Zun, but I have never seen the Chief Chess Envoy. You can imagine how mysterious he is. Go. I will take you to your residence. Yes. Lin Muyu led the horse and followed Long Yan to his residence. She was dumbfounded when she arrived. It was too shabby. It was a temporary straw shed and there was nothing else. Looking at Lin Muyu's expression, Long Yan could not help but laugh. This is the treatment of a rogue. If you are really capable, you can climb up step by step. Silver Venerable can enjoy a woman once every 3 days. Jin Zun will be given a concubine. Chess envoys are treated even better. They have their own courtyard and 3 concubines. As for the Grand Chess Envoy, I am not too sure. Everything here is decided by the Grand Chess Envoy. Everything belongs to him. Lin Muyu nodded. Then how do I get promoted? That is simple. There will be missions here every day. Eliminate our enemies, assassination missions, exterminate spirit beasts and so on. As long as you complete them, you will be given contribution points according to the mission level. Once you have enough contribution points, you can naturally go to the main altar to level up. As he said this, Long Yan revealed a sinister expression. But the premise of all this is that you do not die. Once you die, the contribution points will be useless. Lin Muyu smiled inwardly. Carrying her luggage, she said, All right then. It is late at night. Lord Long Yan, rest early. All right. Dinner could not be said to be sumptuous. A bowl of plain porridge and 2 large pancakes. It was very simple, but it was enough to fill one's stomach. The days of a rogue were really too hard. There were a few other straw sheds not far from Lin Muyu's straw shed. It was late at night, but a few rogue were still holding a night tea party. A young rogue no more than 17 years old with a childish face said with a smile, "The missions will be issued tomorrow morning. I'm really looking forward to it. I wonder what is the first hostile mission I will receive?" Another rogue who was at least 30 years old sneered. "Little Nail, you really don't know how powerful you are. Every day there are rogue who die. I hope you are not one of them." The young rogue called Little Nail stuck out his tongue and said with a smile, "Uncle Wang, how many people are there in this Shaolin branch?" Uncle Wang said, "I saw the roster today. It seems that there are more than 2,700 rogue, 224 venerable, 110 iron venerable, 42 bronze venerable, 17 silver venerable, 5 Jinzun, 2 game masters and 1 grand game master. There are more than 3,000 people in total. Otherwise the whole hill would be full of people. Little Nail, don't always think about doing those dangerous missions. Saving your life is the most important thing." "Yes, thank you, Uncle Wang. Go to bed early. Rest well." Lin Muyu, on the other hand, could not fall asleep. It was winter now, and the night wind whistled past, cutting his face like a knife. The straw hut did not have 4 walls, and he had rarely experienced such harsh conditions. However, he could only endure it. His current rank was not close to that of a Grand Travel Envoy or a Grand Travel Envoy, and he could only learn the secrets behind the House of Chivalry from them. He slowly spread his spiritual mind. It was very quiet in the House of Chivalry at night. Almost no one spoke, so his spiritual mind could only feel a wave of power fluctuations, but he could not find anything. This made Lin Muyu very unhappy. The system of the House of Chivalry was too strict. In this case, it was impossible to use the spiritual pulse technique to eavesdrop. He extended his spiritual mind to a place further away, and soon he felt a few strong waves of genuine qi. It was the residence of the Jinzun Rangers. Further away, an aura of genuine qi at the peak of the third sky of the Earth realm was slowly fluctuating. Unsurprisingly, it was one of the game masters Luo Yu who was at the peak of the third sky of the Earth realm. There was another even stronger force at the Heaven realm. The power of fighting qi was dense. It was the Grand Game Master Li Qianxuan. As for the peak of the mountain about 300 meters away from Lin Muyu, he could still feel the surging fighting qi. It was the Grand Game Master Jiang. This person had hidden his strength. He had at least stepped into the second sky of the Heaven realm. He was a heavenly king. Not long after he released his spiritual mind, Lin Muyu withdrew his spiritual mind and used the spiritual pulse technique to hide the strength of his fighting qi. He could spy on others, but others might also have a secret technique similar to the spiritual pulse technique to spy on him. He had to be careful in this place. He didn't know how long he had slept. Suddenly, the crowing of a rooster disturbed his dream. When he opened his eyes, Dongfang Xiang was already on his face. It was early in the morning. There was no morning exercise in the House of Chivalry. Everyone practiced on their own and didn't interfere with each other. After washing up, it was another nutritious breakfast. At this time, the game master Luo Yu came to the square with a scroll. He raised his genuine qi and said loudly, "Everyone listen up. Today's mission is the same as before. Kill the spirit beasts and bring back the spirit stones. Your contribution will be increased according to the age of the spirit stones. In addition, there is a group of wandering mercenaries occupying the Moat Fish Mountain in the east. After you kill the mercenaries and bring back their heads, your contribution will be increased according to the mercenaries' level. That's it. You can go now." The mission is really easy. Lin Muyu grinned. Long Yen held his battle axe and shouted in a low voice, "Those who want to attack the Moat Fish Mountain, come with me. Bring your bows and arrows." Suddenly, at least 1,000 people followed Long Yen to attack the Moat Fish Mountain. The House of Chivalry had never been on good terms with the major mercenary corps. Killing mercenaries to improve one's status in the House of Chivalry seemed to be a bit disdainful. Lin Muyu didn't plan to kill. After all, his hands were stained with enough blood. He only killed those who deserved to be killed. As for the mercenaries, in fact, many people became mercenaries just to survive. They didn't do anything evil. Carrying the burning prairie sword, he led the horse and set off to the dragon forest to try his luck. He wanted to see what kind of spirit beasts he could meet today. Maybe it would be faster and more effective to use the spirit stones of the spirit beasts to improve his status in the House of Chivalry. He went down the mountain and went straight to the southeast. Chapter 145. Rustle, rustle. At the edge of the dragon-seeking forest, there were only a few young spirit beasts wandering around. Furthermore, these spirit beasts were extremely vigilant. Once they discovered traces of humans, they would immediately flee in panic. Lin Muyu tied the warhorse far away at the edge of the forest and slowly groped his way into the dragon-seeking forest with the burning prairie sword in hand. His main target was to lock onto some spirit beasts that were below 1,000 years old. Because he had just arrived, killing spirit beasts that were thousands of years old the moment he arrived would inevitably cause Jiyang, Luo Yu and the other chess envoys to become suspicious. He had to give them a mental buffer. Not far ahead, a purple-haired badger was digging through the snow in the forest, searching for some wild radishes under the snow. As it dug, it would occasionally raise its head to look at its surroundings. It was extremely vigilant, but this purple-haired badger did not seem to notice Lin Muyu's arrival. Lin Muyu's spirit sense had already locked onto this purple-haired badger. There were a total of 9 silver lines on the badger's head, and it was obvious that this was a 900-year-old purple-haired badger, which was roughly equivalent to the strength of a level 35 war master. Taking this purple-haired badger's spirit stone to hand in a mission should allow him to obtain quite a bit of contribution points. Shua. He took out a little magic noise blade from the blade pouch at his waist, aimed in the direction of the purple-haired badger and suddenly attacked. Immediately, the little magic noise blade attacked with a sharp whistle. Hoo! The purple-haired badger suddenly raised its head, alerted to the approaching danger and hurriedly rolled into the snow. With a pu sound, the little magic noise blade left a bloody hole on its hind hooves, and the purple-haired badger immediately roared and ran, but it did not run fast. On the contrary, Lin Muyu used falling star steps to quickly rush forward, and when he was about 40 meters away from his martial spirit's effective attack range, he immediately raised his arm, and with a rustling sound, green vines pierced through the snow, directly binding the purple-haired badger tightly. Without giving it too much pain, Lin Muyu opened his palm and pure white do qi whizzed out. With a peng sound, his palm landed on the head of the purple-haired badger. The strength was just right and the purple-haired badger was directly slapped to death, but its fur and body were not damaged. Bending down, Lin Muyu lifted the purple-haired badger's corpse. It weighed about 50 kilograms and it was quite heavy. He dragged it across the grass, took out a rope and swiftly tied the purple-haired badger's corpse to the horse's butt. This warhorse was bought for 10 gold coins and its physical strength and endurance were considered high, so carrying 50 kilograms was a piece. The purple-haired badger's corpse was still soaked in blood, so Lin Muyu did not plan to throw it into the Heaven Earth pouch. It was too dirty and it would be bad if it dirted those precious diamond coins. Seeing that it was still early and there was still some time before noon, it would be boring to go back early. It would be so lonely to follow a group of rookies and wanderers, so he led the horse and continued advancing into the dragon-seeking forest. As this place was already some distance away from Lanyan City, there were no imperial soldiers guarding this part of the dragon-seeking forest. Moreover, spirit beasts that were more than 1,000 years old often appeared here, and ordinary soldiers were not a match for them at all. Sending people to guard here was simply sending them to their deaths. Ordinary soldiers could only deal with spirit beasts that were less than 500 years old. Lin Muyu slowly spread her spiritual sense and suddenly, a wave of energy rippled in front of her. Hurriedly, Lin Muyu leaped onto the horse and chased after it. Sure enough, another prey appeared as far as her eyes could see. It was a silver fox and there was a gold pattern and a silver pattern on its forehead. It had lived for 1,100 years. The silver fox seemed to have also sensed Lin Muyu's power, and it sprinted in the forest. Chase after it. Lin Muyu whipped the horse and galloped away. How could the silver fox's speed compare to that of a fine horse? In the blink of an eye, it was about to be caught up. Lin Muyu raised her hand and used the same trick as before. The little magic noise blade turned into a cold light as it attacked. Whoosh! The silver fox also heard this sound and it actually stopped in its tracks in a hurry. With a shrill cry, frost energy appeared around its body, condensing into a shield in the blink of an eye. This was actually a silver fox that had an energy shield. Unfortunately, this silver fox that had only lived for 1,100 years had underestimated Lin Muyu's strength. The little magic noise blade tore through its shield like it was crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. With a poochie sound, a gash appeared on its neck and fresh blood flowed out. GG. Feeling the pain, the silver fox gave up on its counterattack and hurriedly turned around and charged into the distant sea of snow. Its body was as white as snow, almost the same color as the sea of snow, but it still could not escape Lin Muyu's eyes. Or perhaps it could be said that it could not escape Lin Muyu's spiritual perception. Spirit beasts did not know how to suppress their auras, so their energy waves were very stable. Under the detection of the spirit pulse technique, they naturally could not hide. Hiya. Lin Muyu continued to whip the horse and gave chase. She raised her hand and a bolt of lightning energy appeared in her palm. She retrieved the little magic noise blade that had been stabbed into the snow and held it in her hand, waiting for the next opportunity to attack. It was also at this time that the silver fox cried out and jumped down a small hill. Lin Muyu was immediately stunned. Damn, so naughty. However, just as Lin Muyu reached the top of the hill, she heard a human voice. Little Nail, be careful. It's a 1,100-year-old silver fox. Uncle Wang, what should we do? Arrow, shoot it to death. Puff, puff, puff. After the sound of arrows being released, there was another GG sound. The poor silver fox was killed just like that. When Lin Muyu appeared on the hillside, she saw a few lone warriors from the Hall of Chivalry surrounding the silver fox. The person called Uncle Wang had a slightly strong aura, and his cultivation base was about level 12. He grinned and said, "It's a wounded silver fox. No wonder it was easily killed by us. Fortunately, its wound and arrow wound were on its neck, so it won't damage the value of its fur. Great, a 1,100-year-old silver fox's fur can be sold for at least 50 Jinyin coins in Lanyan City." Little Nail was so excited that he rubbed his hands on the side. There were also 3 other loose warriors with green badges on their chests that were identical to Lin Muyu's. They all held swords and sabers in their hands. Rather than calling them loose warriors, it would be better to say that this group of people looked more like hunting tigers. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said faintly, "Wang Tianfu, are you going to take this silver fox to the headquarters to receive the reward?" Only then did the team of 5 notice the existence of Lin Muyu. Each of their faces showed a flash of surprise. Wang Tianfu carried the silver fox's corpse in his hand, looked up and said faintly, "You are the newly joined loose warrior Lin Yan?" "Yes." "Did you injure this silver fox?" Wang Tianfu asked. Lin Muyu raised the little magic knife in her hand and said, "Yes, answer my question. Are you going to take this silver fox and use its spirit stones to receive the reward?" Wang Tianfu's face showed a trace of hesitation. After thinking for a few seconds, he said, "So what if it is? Although this silver fox was wounded by you, it was killed by the few of us. It should be ours." "Is that so?" Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and said, "I advise you not to take this silver fox to the headquarters to receive the reward. This is for your own good." "What?" Wang Tianfu sneered and said, "Are you jealous that we are about to be promoted, so you want us to return the silver fox to you? Let me tell you, stop dreaming." Lin Muyu could not help but laugh. "You ask me why? Let me tell you, the reason is very simple. The strength of you and this silver fox do not match. If you take the silver fox to the headquarters, even if your ranger rank is improved, your strength will not be improved. You will bring disaster to yourselves in vain. It is not too late to return the silver fox to me now." Little Nail shouted at the hillside with all his strength. "No. We will not return it. It was not easy for us to hunt this silver fox. Why should we return it to you? We will not return it." Lin Muyu furrowed her brows. If she was like those cultivators, she would probably kill these unaffiliated warriors without hesitation, right? In fact, in the House of Chivalry, it was very common to kill each other for treasures. Looking at the group of ragged wandering heroes, Lin Muyu sighed. She reached into her cosmos sack and took out a diamond coin, saying, "How about this? I'll use a diamond coin to exchange for this silver fox's corpse. Is that okay?" Little Nail was stunned. 1,000 Jinyin coins. Who knows whether your diamond coin is fake or not? Wang Tianfu said with anger in his eyes, "If you want this silver fox, come and get it yourself. Don't fool us with fake diamond coins." "Damn it." Lin Muyu was slightly angry. He raised his hand to pull out half of the burning prairie sword, but at this moment he suddenly stopped moving. After a few seconds of silence, he sheathed the long sword with a clang, grabbed the reins, turned around and walked away saying, "You're on your own. I've been very kind to you." He looked at the snow and went back without looking back. He still remembered the word "E" hanging high on the main altar of the House of Chivalry. Unfortunately, the people of the House of Chivalry did not seem to understand what it meant. Lin Muyu also understood that he was not a living Buddha and could not save all living beings. Some people, Buddha did not save them, demons would save themselves. Along the way he found a 500-year-old wild boar. After killing it and cutting its head, he found that it had not condensed any spirit stones. He had no choice but to drag the wild boar's body, which weighed at least 400 kilograms, back to the House of Chivalry. He only arrived at the House of Chivalry at noon. The sun was high up in the sky and the ice and snow were melting rapidly. It was too difficult to hunt spirit beasts in the snow, and many spirit beasts simply did not come out. When they saw Lin Muyu dragging the bodies of the 2 spirit beasts back to the mountain, a few guards were shocked. Then they laughed mockingly and said, "Yo, this new rogue is quite capable. A 900-year-old purple-haired badger and a 500-year-old wild boar. He can at least be promoted to an Iron Honorable Ranger. Congratulations, kid." Lin Muyu responded with a smile, and continued to work hard to drag the bodies of the spirit beasts up the mountain. At noon, some of the rangers guarding the main altar had already begun to eat. The higher-ranked ones ate in the hall, while the lower-ranked ones could only eat porridge and bread in the cold wind. Rogue Lin Yan has returned to the mountain. A loud silver honorable ranger shouted at the top of his lungs, "Spoils of war, 1 900-year-old purple-haired badger, 1 500-year-old wild boar." Ji Yang, who was drinking in the main altar, could not help but look up and said with a smile, "The new rogue who joined this year is not bad, there's such a good seedling." Luo Yu put down his wine cup and said respectfully, "Grand Wandering Ambassador, should I go take a look? If it's true, what rank should I give him?" "If it's true," Ji Yang's eyes flashed and he said with a smile, "then give him a silver honorable ranger. We're short on people now and the main altar needs more fresh blood. This kid is at least Earth Realm, he's more than enough to be a silver honorable ranger." Yes. Chapter 146. Luo Yu held a crimson crystal in her hands as she slowly walked out of the headquarters. Her gaze fell upon the crowd as she said, "Where is Lin Yan who has returned to the mountain? Bring the prey over for me to see." Lin Muyu immediately dragged the corpses of the 2 spirit beasts over and placed them side by side on the ground. She said, "Luo Yu, you chess user, everything is here. Is this really what you hunted?" Luo Yu asked indifferently. "Yes." "Good." Luo Yu slowly handed the crystal over and said, "Use all your strength to concentrate on this crystal. I want to see your strength." Lin Muyu did not say a word as he stepped forward and placed his palm on the crystal. He muttered to himself as he slowly released about 10% of his inner force into the crystal. He was no longer able to condense true energy because of the changes in his body. All the energy he could muster was true energy. However, through the Forging Dragon Bone Remnant Scroll he could convert his fighting energy into true dragon primary fire, which was also a type of inner force. From the outside it looked like it belonged to true energy. Buzz buzz buzz. The crimson crystal began to shine brightly. Under the influence of his inner force, it refracted 4 long and 3 short rays of light. It trembled slowly. Lin Muyu controlled his strength perfectly and maintained a balance. Luo Yu raised her eyebrows as her eyes revealed a hint of surprise. She said, "You're actually a level 43 warlord. Not simple. Right, the test is over. Lin Yan, are you really willing to work for the House of Chivalry?" Lin Muyu was a smart person. She smiled and said, "That depends on what the House of Chivalry can give me." Luo Yu could not help but laugh. "As long as you are willing to work for the House of Chivalry, riches and honor will not be a problem. You might even be conferred the title of Marquis in the future. Now, as a Yu chess user, I will bestow upon you the title of Silver Warlord. I hope that you will do your best to work for the House of Chivalry and always remember the principles of the House of Chivalry. Alright, come with me to meet the great Yu chess user." Yes. Lin Muyu strode into the headquarters. The flames swayed gently on the surrounding walls. The Grand Chess Envoy Ji Yang and the other Grand Chess Envoy Li Qianxuan were both there. There were also a dozen maids dancing on the stage in the center of the headquarters. It was winter, but they wore very few clothes. They only had white cloth wrapped around their private parts, and the rest of their bodies were covered with light muslin. Their delicate bodies were partly hidden, and there was an indescribably hazy beauty about them. However, Lin Muyu didn't have the time to appreciate it. He just frowned slightly. He was thinking about this kind of cold weather where even he couldn't help but shiver. It was a cruel torture for these maidservants to dance here. He looked up and saw Ji Yang, the Grand Travel Ambassador, sitting on the first throne. Above his head was a gold-plated character, Lin Yan. The corner of Ji Yang's mouth curled up and he suddenly asked fiercely, "Who are you?" Lin Muyu's heart sank, but he didn't show it on his face. He said, "Grand Travel Ambassador, I am a mercenary in the Cyan Sparrow mercenary troop. However, I was suspected by the deputy commander, so I was kicked out of the mercenary troop. As for my background, I was born in a family of hunters in the forest on the outskirts of Lanyan City." "Why are you suspecting Lin Yan?" "If that's the case, Lin Yan will immediately leave the mountain and not disturb the House of Chivalry." Every word he said was sonorous and fearless. Ji Yang couldn't help but stand up. He laughed and said, "Good boy, I like your courage. But since you have decided to join the House of Chivalry, you are our brother. You need to swear that you will never break the Chivalry Covenant. How about that?" Lin Muyu smiled secretly. Anyway, he was using the name Lin Yan now. His brother was in another plane, so he probably wouldn't break the covenant. It didn't matter if he broke the covenant because he was Lin Ji, not Lin Yan. "Okay, recite the covenant after me." Ji Yang stood tall and closed his eyes. His face was full of piety. He said in a trembling voice, "Being benevolent, all living beings are equal. The 100 Ridge Covenant, the covenant of life and death. Under the sky, the feudal lords swear a blood oath. Above the land, the king will kill." Although Lin Muyu didn't understand, he recited it anyway. "Being benevolent, all living beings are equal. The 100 Ridge Covenant, the covenant of life and death. Under the sky, the feudal lords swear a blood oath. Above the land, the king will kill." Beside him, Luo Yu clapped her hands and said with a smile, "Okay, Lord Lin Yan is now a silver venerable ranger of the House of Chivalry. He has entered the upper levels of the House of Chivalry. As long as he completes a decapitation mission, he can join the House of Chivalry as a Jinzun ranger." "A decapitation mission?" Lin Muyu was stunned. Ji Yang nodded. "Yes, to become a Jinzun ranger he must kill one of our enemy's leaders. Otherwise he won't be able to express his sincerity." "Envoy Luo Yu, what kind of mission do you think is suitable for Lin Yan?" Luo Yu thought for a while and said, "There is a mountain north of the House of Chivalry. It has always been occupied by a group of mercenaries. This group of mercenaries has always been enemies with the House of Chivalry, and they have been sending people down the mountain to plunder. This has caused the people in the villages near the mountain to complain. I think, why don't we start with the mercenaries on the mountain?" Ji Yang frowned. "The mountain is the territory of the Tianjing mercenary group, right? Lin Yan has just joined the House of Chivalry. If we send him to the mountain to carry out an assassination mission, it seems a little inappropriate. As far as I know, the leaders of the Tianjing mercenary group all have the strength of the third sky of the Earth realm. It is easy for Lin Yan to go up the mountain, but it will be difficult for him to go down the mountain alive." Luo Yu smiled and said, "There is no need to go up the mountain. I have already investigated. Tomorrow afternoon, the Tianjing mercenary group will go down the mountain to patrol. They plan to loot the people of Blue Lake Town. The third leader of the Tianjing mercenary group, Nie Yan, will personally lead the people down the mountain. Li Qianxuan and Envoy Yue will accompany them. If anything happens, we can help immediately." Ji Yang could not help but smile. "Good, that's great. Lin Yan, do you agree?" Lin Muyu secretly clenched her fists, secretly cursing Ji Yang for being a bastard. Nie Yan had clearly reached the third sky of the Earth realm, much stronger than the second sky of the Earth realm that she had revealed. Ji Yang was clearly sending her to her death. The House of Chivalry was indeed a ruthless place. Anyone who wanted to climb up to the position of a Jinzun ranger had to pay the price in blood. However, in order to complete Emperor Qingjin's mission, he had to take the risk. He also had to put on a good show. Yes, as you wish. He cupped his fists and expressed his attitude. Li Qianxuan laughed loudly. That's great. Have a good rest today. We will set off after midnight. We will lie in ambush in Blue Lake Town and wait for the hare. Okay. In the afternoon, Lin Muyu was arranged to stay in a new room. It was the living quarters of a silver elder ranger. The room had white walls and black tiles, and it looked very spacious inside. With nothing to do, he closed the door and cultivated the remnant scroll of the forging dragon bone scroll. After completing 72 circulations, he felt a sense of comfort all over his body, and the battle energy in his blood surged. At this moment there was a knock on the door and a woman's voice sounded. Lord Lin Yan, I am here to serve you. Please open the door. Lin Muyu was stunned. He remembered what Long Yan had said before. Silver Elder Rangers had the right to be served by a maid once every 3 days. It seemed that he had just become a Silver Elder Ranger today and he had gotten a chance. No need. I don't need it for now. He flatly refused, not because of anything else, but because the maids in the House of Chivalry were ravaged by countless men every day. On the one hand he was unwilling to do it, and on the other hand it was dirty. Who would have thought that the maid outside would not let him go? She pushed the door open and stood outside seductively. She smiled and said, Lord Lin Yan, what are you talking about? How can there be a man who doesn't want a woman? This woman was wearing a light yellow silk dress, but her weight was really shocking. She was at least 150 kilograms and her face was full of muscles. Lin Muyu counted a total of 4 chins, and the muscles all over her body were jiggling as she walked. Such a heavy taste was really not something an ordinary person could bear. Damn it! Lin Muyu cursed in his heart. Jiang, this old fox, did he send such a beauty to disgust me? Even if he had doubts about me, he should not use such a dirty honey trap. There was no chance of success at all. A million curses ran through his heart. He turned his face away, unable to look at the maid in front of him. He said, Hurry up and leave, or else don't blame my sword for being merciless. Clang. The burning prairie sword was halfway out of its sheath. Raging flames surrounded the blade, and it was filled with killing intent. The maid pouted coquettishly and said, Seeing how handsome you are, I thought you were a romantic and elegant person. I didn't expect you to be such an unromantic idiot. Fine, it's you who doesn't want it. She angrily slammed the door and left. Lin Muyu also let out a sigh of relief. At least he had escaped a disaster. In the evening, someone knocked on the door again. It was Luo Yu's voice. Lord Lin Yan, are you resting? I am Luo Yu. No, please come in, Lord Yu. Lin Muyu got up and sat on the edge of the bed. She watched as Luo Yu pushed open the door and entered. The cold wind blew in, causing the oil lamp to flicker. Lin Muyu smiled slightly. What brings Lord Yu to my place? Luo Yu also smiled and sat on a low stool. I'm here to deliver something to you. What is it? Luo Yu reached out and took an item wrapped in black cloth. He opened it layer by layer, revealing a crossbow with a metallic luster. He smiled and said, This is a weapon brought from the west to the Middle Earth. It is called the Black Iron Crossbow. It is extremely powerful and I've prepared some arrows. They have all been dipped in poison. You will be facing a strong enemy tomorrow. Perhaps this black iron crossbow will be of help. Lin Muyu took the black iron crossbow and said, Thank you, Luo Yu. Is this what the great Yu wants? Luo Yu laughed bitterly and shook his head. No, this is just Luo Yu's own intentions. Lord Lin Yan, you are a young talent. You should not take such a risk. Luo Yu does not want to see you die under Nie Yan's hands. Lin Muyu couldn't help but feel warmth in her heart. Although the House of Chivalry had a bad atmosphere, there was still a glimmer of hope with someone as loyal as Luo Yu. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.